Hey everyone, and welcome to Living by the Law, the podcast discussing fictional worlds and how wondrous and ridiculous they are. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jude and Guy.
This time, we have a special episode for you law keepers, as we have our first guest on the podcast. Today, we interview Samuel Kane, a American high school teacher and author of the new novel, The Pilgrim Soul. Get ready for a mix between books and bonkers as we split between discussing The Pilgrim Soul and our favourite fictions. Enjoy. Living by the Law is not currently sponsored. If you wish to sponsor us, check out The Pilgrim Soul, a novel by Samuel Kane. Go to his page, samkanewriter.com, and send him a love letter about the intangibility of the human soul. We will hear you. We always do. Oh, and buy The Pilgrim Soul while you're at it. You won't regret it. Heads up, this episode contains minor spoilers for The Pilgrim Soul by Samuel Kane.
Excellent. Well, we're not dead, so that's nice.
Yeah,
I like to start off the podcast on a chipper moment, you know?
That's an interesting way to do a chipper
Bring
moment.
the good
we are
news.
not dead.
we're alive.
I was in a car crash this week.
Shit,
That's
I
true,
forgot
you
about
were.
that.
I did roll my car this week, but I am alive,
Is the car?
and everyone's okay. No one was just.
Is the car okay, Matthew? I don't care about you.
Yeah, no, the car got written off.
Ah!
It's real dead.
I love that car.
You never met it.
I know. I wish I had.
Fair enough. It was a beautiful Honda Fit.
Yes. So
Beautiful.
we have a very special guest today, which we'd like to introduce. Matt, do you want to do the introduction as the face of the podcast?
I think he can introduce himself very much.
Official job.
I actually would rather Matt introduce me, if that's okay.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Oh.
No, I'm just joking. What's up, guys? My name's Sam Kane. I'm a fantasy author in New Orleans, Louisiana. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
We are doing our first interview kind of
Please,
guest
God,
on our
Sam,
podcast.
forgive us for what we're about to do.
Man, I'm ready. Let's mess it up together. Let's do it big.
Oh, no.
So, there is a reason you're on here, is there not?
There is, yeah. I actually stumbled on y'all's podcast by accident almost. It was just scrolling through Facebook, and then I just found y'all's podcast completely by chance. I listened to a couple of episodes, and then I was just like, I gotta be on here. I gotta talk to these guys. These guys are awesome. We gotta talk about hard versus soft magic, like right now.
Yes.
Oh, we'll get to it.
We will.
Jude was literally talking to me last night, like, I don't need to take notes. I'm just going to be able to go for, like, straight hour.
Already.
Yeah, we'll just go 3 hours talking about magic, honestly.
I mean, every time I prepare like a 7-page script we literally, I think half of the podcast we record is nothing to do with anything I've written down at all.
Yeah.
That's the best
The
kind
more
of
episodes
conversation.
Exactly. You just kind of ignore the script. And
Right.
So do you want to tell us? Oh, actually, this is. Yeah. Do you want to
You
just
can
tell
go
us
ahead.
a little bit about the a book, just to give people a little bit of idea of who you are?
Sure. Absolutely. So it's a contemporary fantasy piece called The Pilgrim Soul. Basically, it's let's talk about it like a philosophical primer for magic nerds, right? It's this idea of how the human consciousness can continue past whenever, like, we all die, and it's just an exploration of that. And since I was a huge fantasy nerd, think of it like heaven for Tolkien nerds or heaven for Harry Potter nerds, but like with a little bit of a philosophical bent. So super lighthearted material. Let's just talk about death. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Jump right into these philosophical questions.
Yep.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'll be honest, I haven't read a lot of it, but I've read like the first few chapters. And sorry, it's been a busy couple weeks.
It's all good, man.
Yes, as you can see from my intro, that was just the start of what's happened.
Listen, I don't care if you roll your car. I don't care if you're like having to go back to school. You gotta read my book. What are you
gotta
talking
get-
about?
I'm sorry.
I'm about to get all
There
diva
is
in this.
only one imperative. Hey, Matt, be honest. Is the reason you rolled your card because you were reading the book?
Oh.
Yeah, obviously. It was too good. I was like, oh
accept
shit,
that.
Deep in the
turn the
page.
page. I meant to turn the page and I turned the card.
Oh, no.
That seems really poetic. I'm into it. I'm down. I like that.
Yes.
No, but I'm from what I have read, I've actually like really enjoy like the way you describe something that's trying like word experiences that's like undescribable, like just in like a bit of a spoiler. I don't know. It's in the first chapter.
Yeah, that's cool.
How the I guess the main character dies. Just describing the feeling of being sucked into battle between hot and cold of your mind fighting your body as life is being drained and cold winning over. That was hard. That was like tough to read. That was amazing.
So, it's one of those things, right, where you need to be completely honest about some things that all human beings must endure, right? And one of them is death. The cool thing about good stories, though, as we can all agree, is that it gives us comfort in those moments, right? Like great pieces of mythology, history, fantasy, they're things that allow us to understand what it means to be human, what it means to love, to lose, and even to pass on, right? So it's really nice, and there's lighthearted material in fantasy genre, but it's also a great place for hope, right? It's a place where the hero can win, where you can even triumph over death. So yeah, the first chapter is a little dark, and it's a horrible sales pitch, right? Where it's like, don't worry, the main character dies. First thing, you're gonna love this book.
Game of Thrones ain't got nothing on us. We're clearing out the main
Straight
character
murder.
straight up.
First chapter.
But it was really fun actually to start that way, because it's like usually there's all these traditional character arcs, and then the main character wins or loses, right? But if you start off with death, like it makes everybody who reads it like, okay, and then what the fuck can happen next?
Yeah.
Right? Like what
It
do you
can
do?
only go up
I feel-
from here.
That's right.
I was like, did we miss all the story? Like, where are
Right?
we?
Your editor sucks. I'm just gonna tell you. Like they put
They put the wrong chapter.
It's like a Christopher Nolan movie. We're starting at the end and going
Yeah,
back to the...
Oh man, those movies. Okay.
Hey, Inception's my favorite movie. I'll hold
Yeah,
on.
I'm interested. There are a couple of like experiences that you describe in the book that are just like really interesting takes on things that you can't really have an experience of. Was that something you sat on for a long time, or was it sort of just something that as you wrote it just sort of made sense? Or
Oh man, you
something
have.
like-
Well, there's certain moments in life that you will never be able to truly transcribe, right? And so, just another spoiler, I guess, is like the first chapter is the death of the main character, and the next subsequent chapter is the birth of a main character, right? And so, you
Yeah.
actually can't take notes during either of those times, right? Like, if you could imagine being born, and you could like remember the experience, that would be the most traumatic thing you've ever felt in your whole life. Are you kidding me? Your head gets squished into a conical position, everything's bright, you have no idea where you are. That's just horrible. But it's also something that we all have to endure. So I really did have to like sit and explore that idea of what it means to really die, what it means to be born again. And it was traumatic in its own right, having to write it, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a bit where kind of the soul passes on, and I love like it kind of like breached into a realm of like it's the words hard to describe. It's more like poetry, more like a feeling when like, and I really enjoyed the part where I was gonna write. I didn't write it down. There was a part where you described it was like the soul passing through the universe, like it was like a wind, as it doesn't ever feel it. The wind feels a rock as it goes around and stuff like that. How it's like just naturally flows through. And like that was really like an interesting way to be able to describe something that you can't describe, because you can't sense, you can't see, you can't feel when you have no body. In that sense, was really interesting.
Yeah, I accept that you didn't write it down because you were in a car accident, but like that's your one right? That's
forget
the one
things.
time you can do that.
I was in the motion as writing it, and as I was turning the page.
But okay,
Foot slipped, hit the accelerator, and just.
I'm basically a terrible driver, is what we're saying.
oh, we
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
we know now.
we have confirmed proof.
Legit.
Yep.
But it's like these ideas that are so huge and tremendous in our lives that have like single word descriptors that is nuts. Like the word love, right? How on earth are you actually supposed to be able to describe the overwhelming, all-encompassing feeling of really falling in love with somebody, right? But the only word we got is love. And so how are you supposed to really encapsulate what it means for the soul to go to another place? Like you can't really do anything but describe it as something else, right? Just make a comparison. As far as I know, like I haven't reincarnated as far as I know, so I'm just guessing here, you know. But
I know you guys can't see the camera, but Sam is absolutely sweating right here. I think he knows something we don't.
I do. I do kind of look like a
he
Scandinavian
has a-
Jesus. Oh, sorry.
he has memory of his times as a mongoose before he was reincarnated into a man.
Yeah, of
Oh, yeah.
course.
I was a savage mongoose. I'll tell you right now. So good at killing stuff.
Oh yeah.
What do you know? Sam knows stuff that we don't know, and that's why this podcast is going to get taken down by the FBI.
That would be wild. That would actually sell more books than anything else. Like if the NSA like comes up to my house, I'm just gonna live stream it and be like, if you want to know the secrets, lizard
Read
people
the
are
book.
real.
It's all there.
Read the book; it's all there.
Oh my god.
Damn.
Also, I very much appreciate talking about undescribable experiences, the fact that it goes from death to birth straight into being a toddler, which is one of the funniest things I've ever read, including the terminology of a mother as my giant landlord, which just I cracked up at because that's funny. I hate my giant landlord.
My giant landlord.
Can you imagine? Like we're all like adults, but like just being completely controlled by somebody with the consciousness of an adult person, and your body doesn't really work all that well. Like, can you imagine how infuriating that would be? It's like I need you for food and shelter, and I can't really function. So you're just gonna be a little bit irritated, to say the least.
Yep. It kind of, I really hate to use the connection because it's a bit dumb, but it's almost kind of like if, I'm assuming most people have seen, to an extent, Summer Family Guy, how you've got Stewie as the baby who's like way older mentally than he should be and has like very, very like conscious thoughts that, you know, you would associate with a much older man, but instead he's a helpless baby.
For all the
I
things
cannot
I
describe
thought,
how far off point that went. I could not have predicted the next words out of your mouth.
For all the things I think was where Drew's going with this, I'm like a reincarnation of the Doctor. I'm looking like a Lord of the Rings kind of like coming back from thing. No, he goes the fucking Family Guy.
I mean, great pieces of media.
So you're thinking about this like transcendence of the soul and this whole spiritual awakening. No, Stewie Griffin. That's what it was.
Hell yeah.
That's so fucking
Best.
good. Oh my god.
It's brilliant.
No, honestly,
Oh,
the thing that made me think that, just the way you were describing before, like, if you could, you know, actually remember or recall your experience of being born, like all the bright lights and stuff, because I haven't seen the show for a long time, but I have a really distinct
Stop trying to
memory of
salvage it,
one-
just stick with it.
No,
one
no,
very
dude,
distinct
stop.
memory of an episode where Stewie can remember being born, and he's like terrified of the doctors in the hospital and stuff because he's just like this newborn being held in these weird lab coat people's arms, and it's like, yeah, just kind of popped into my brain.
Wasn't he like also like a? This might be too much, so I apologize ahead of time. Y'all feel free to cut this. But like,
No, it's all good.
he was like a sperm, but he was a spaceship, right? Remember he had a little
Yeah,
spaceship
yeah.
to go. So like, I should have just done that for my book. But like,
Yeah, just
and then he was a sperm spaceship, and oh god, golly, I should have
Family
done.
Guy's got some lore. God damn.
What is
He
happening
does.
here? I've never seen Family Guy.
no, they do like a parody of the Death Star run, but instead of it being X-Wings fighting trying to get to the Death Star, it's Stewie trying to be the first sperm to, you know.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This is what we need to be talking about. We're talking about the real shit right now.
So what were we saying about we can only go up from here?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
I think
true.
we actually went down. I don't know how we did it, but we went the opposite direction.
I like it here.
Uh,
I like it. Okay.
So obviously there's a we're talking about different things like Family Guy and stuff like that. But what actually like what made you want to like write a book? Like what inspired you in your world, your fiction? What made you want to actually write?
Sure. So there's a couple of different reasons, but I'll start with one. It was actually a conversation between a friend of mine about whether or not we could actually create a scenario where consciousness exists past death, right? And so we're just sitting over. It was a weird thing. It came out of nowhere, right? Where it was just like, is there any way we could actually argue that the soul is a plausible thing? And I was like, Brian, why are you talking to me like this? And he's like, just think it, just hear me out. And I'm like, all right, let's talk about it. And so we just started thinking about there could be a potential space where the thoughts that we create go somewhere else. They have a kind of weight, right? And so think about a tree in front of you, right? And you're looking at the tree, and you create an image of that tree in your mind. Therefore, there are now two trees. And so where does that second tree go? Where does that conscious thought go? And that's where the idea of a second place that's designed and created through human thought was started, right? Yeah. And so then it's like, well, how do I get there? Why isn't everybody there? And it was the next step about, you know how, I mean, this might be too much, but I believe that people have a drive to look for more, to create art, to create poetry, to say something beautiful, something that transcends just the basic human self. And through that transcendence, that's the creation of the soul, right? That's something that can be bigger than us. And if you can do that, if you can separate just your physical self into something greater, then you can travel to the next plane, right? And so we have finally achieved my dream, which is to go from Family Guy to enlightenment and nirvana. And I've always wanted to make this segue.
Yeah, it's the cleanest segue we've ever had in our podcast, I think. Like,
I love it.
I mean, honestly, yeah, we've set the bar pretty low in terms of segues.
But
it's our goal to have the messiest segue of all time.
I like it. Honestly, I wanted to create a scenario that was a place for hope, right? Because we don't know what happens next. So why not create a scenario where something else is there? Like, why not give hope to something that we can't actually explain? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of the fact that the entity in your mind that you're thinking of is separate from the actual thing. Because, like, I think about just... And also beyond that, like, the idea of, like, characters and stuff like that, especially in text, where you have, like, a different image of them and it's actually, like, a different thing. There's no concrete part. Like, your brain is making that. And it's kind of interesting to conceptualize, like, it's becoming a thing in a different plane. And if you have a strong enough imagination, because I'm going to give you some... My mind's eye real blurry. It's just fog up here. I cannot...
All right.
Like, I was being asked to describe, just as an example, my D&D character today. I don't know. she's blonde, whatever, cool. And it's just like, having that pure mental image is very, very cool. I don't know, just a fun
kind of reminds me like this is gonna be another random man. I'm cracking a
keep going, dude. Further down the path.
Do it, man.
guys, gonna like this one. But in show, I think it's got source material as well, called Dirk Gently's.
Yeah.
Dirk Gently's detective agency.
Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency.
Yeah. In the second season of that, because it's all about people that have got like powers to an extent, to put it super simply. There's someone that has literally the ability to create like a whole nother world in their mind, and just from their imagination they create an entire like fantasy world where characters get thrown into, and it's like, what the hell, why is there weird elves and stuff? And it's
That's awesome. What is that?
Yeah, it's called Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
All right.
It's a Netflix show.
I'm into
It's
it.
a pretty fucking weird show.
It gets very weird.
It's really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I'm
so
obviously
strange.
into weird stuff, you know.
Yeah, one of
do it.
the parts of that that's interesting is he can create stuff from his mind, but it's much more like when he's in a dream state he can do it. It's like one person as well, and creating this world essentially puts him into a catatonic state.
Oh.
So strength of mind is another thing which is touched on there. Yeah.
Yeah,
But once he's in that dream state, he essentially just seals off that world and just disappears, which is another way to do it.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. And so it's just... oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I hear the children in the background.
Yeah, they're... Sorry about that, guys. They're having a bit of a moment.
No, you're all good.
Yeah, it's all right.
Can't help that you're a family man.
I am indeed. Got two lovely little ones under the age of 3, so tears happen
Aw.
sometimes, right? They're gonna be okay. It's close to their bedtime, you know. Had some pizza. Life is good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did we want to, Matt, if you wanted to move us like into the first segment that you're taking on?
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of
We've
doing
been
it.
doing
as we
it.
go.
Have you
We've been
not-
doing it. I've got a couple of questions, and I think we've kind of mostly gone over it. We'll save like the magic side of the world for Jude's part.
Okay.
Sure.
But so if you were, I know you've kind of went over it, but if you to give like some people a simple explanation of how does your world work in the simplest way possible. How would you describe someone's like? So what is your fantasy world?
Well,
How would you
we
say?
could use this as a segue into the magic part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always have. Yeah.
Oh, you've got some
sure.
more. Keep going.
I've got a couple of questions,
That's
but like
all right.
it'll segue. Don't worry, I get it.
Keep it
All right.
natural. Keep it flowing.
This has been great. I'm having a great time. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just enjoying myself. I am. So it's a world called Dara that is completely created from any unique thought of the human condition. Since human beings have had consciousness, it goes there. And whenever you go to that place, it is a world literally created by the human imagination. So if you have this ability, you can actually manipulate and change things according to their natural state, which is sort of a soft magic system called changing. It can't be something that is not within the laws of the thing. So for example, a tree, right? You can't just think and the tree turns into a robot. That's not how it works. But you can cause it to grow exponentially, or burst flowers, or use the roots as like a sort of weaponized system to like attack things because of the growth element. And so Simon goes under a mentor by the name of Thales. He's an ancient Greek philosopher, and he teaches him these ways of changing. And there's a little bit of metaphor there about like the human consciousness and growing and all that stuff, if you want to get dry and academic and boring. But it's also just a lot of fun to think about how I can make things turn into weapons, turn into machines, turn into even like pseudo companions, which is really cool. And so that's the world that I built.
How can I
That's
weaponize
awesome.
the natural world?
Yes. That's the whole book.
Is there like a good amount of like bender type stuff in there? Because I'm imagining sort of like water turning into
Avatar.
tsunamis. That's
Yeah.
what came into my mind in terms of influencing natural state.
So, yes and no. The people who can do things like that are actually quite a bit older. And so, for example, in order to get water to, quote, bend, you'd actually have to manipulate the water and manipulate the air around it. So that's two parts of the world that you have to kind of infuse and sort of bind together to create like the water bending, right? Same with fire or earth. And so you have to have a very strong understanding of like the natural working of things, and then use your consciousness to manifest the movement. So the answer is like a soft yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, everyone has to be the avatar to be able to do it.
Well, I'm more
Basically, yeah.
thinking it's like a. I'm gonna go to D&D schools of magic because that's where I sit comfortably. But wizards in D&D are entirely scholar-based, like years of study and training compared to, for example, a druid, which is just like connection to nature. I mean, there is a touch of that as well. Oh
Sure.
no, it's a druid. It's a
I was gonna say
druid.
sorcerer is the one you want to avoid.
Sorcerer
Yeah,
is the one that you want to
sorcerer,
avoid
yeah.
because they can just sort of do stuff, whereas
Right.
like the wizard and the thought process that goes into that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And age and like time spent doing it is more indicative of how strong or
Practice.
good they are at it.
absolutely. And so Simon,
Yeah.
right, he doesn't really fully understand it at first, so he gets in these like crazy situations where he like lights his pants on fire on accident, or he like like breaks stuff and he doesn't mean to. So there's a control side of it as well, where you have to be able to understand the natural order of things and also control your thinking around it. And it was really fun to sort of explore that idea. It would be like a druid wizard hybrid, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was I know this is kind of like a side thing, but how it kind of works, how the world works. Sorry, I'll come back to magic. So how the world works kind of on self, like describing, really reminded me of a book called Obernutten. Have you heard of Obernutten?
I have it.
It's a 7-book long series. It's basically about like a post-apocalyptic, but everyone has like people have like mutant mind powers.
Awesome.
Mostly because of radiation afterwards.
less awesome.
Yeah, mostly because exactly. But there's a thing that they describe, like there's different levels of consciousness in it, and there's like there's above our consciousness there's the dreamscape and like the world above it, and it's like and there's real on the dreamscape, and below it, which is basically and on the dreamscape is basically all existence, all people's dreams and thoughts are on the dreamscape, and then below it is kind of like the very bottom is the consciousness of all beings, and it's called they call it the mind stream, and it's like all minds come from the mind stream when you're born, and you return to the mind stream when you die. And it's kind of like if you get too close, you can get sucked in, and there's like a sing of the mind stream where it wants to pull you in, and you get sucked into that. And so, like I remember reading the self stuff, and it was like this, with the dreamscape and self stuff, it reminded me of that kind of like how thoughts can build and how like we're not really ourselves in that kind of sense. But like the thing that works in that differently on that kind of works in this. How does can you interact with the real world, or is it completely separate once you've gone there? Like is there physical, or is there everything kind of like mind bendy in that sense?
No, that's actually a really good question. That's book 2. Actually, the next book, which is it's getting edited by my publisher right now. It should be out later this year. But I'll give it this way: the human mind, right, can change things in the real world. Like if you think things and kind of it manifests in the real world, but the opposite is not true, right? You can't return to the land of Dara as your physical self, because you just can't exist in a world that's completely designed by human ideas. It would be like trying to walk into somebody's brain and being upset when they die. You know, it doesn't work. But yeah, book 2, there's a situation where there's an opportunity to come back to the real world, but you bring with it this magic system of Dara. So there's like a strange infusion, and then people start getting like god level Goku, kind of. But and then it just gets really weird from there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's pretty.
With that connection
fun.
between the real world and the and Dara, I was thinking, is it? You said with talking about the concept, like when you create an image of a tree in your mind, it becomes real in Dara. Mm-hmm. Do people in the real world, quote unquote, the physical world, have more control in like creation than the people in Dara do, or is it similar? But like, because I'm thinking you were saying like the tree gets created from just the thought of it, whereas in Dara you have to influence what's there already.
Now that's a great question. And so if you are in the physical world, like you can change ideas, right? And you can like alter them and make them different, just like from the idea of the manifestation of thought. But the same isn't true. I can't like in the real world think this lamp to be on, right? And so whenever some of the God, I don't want to give too much away. But if somebody returns to the real world with the power of Dara behind them, then they can actually cause things to be changed in the real world, just like it was in Dara, which is why like that's how the magic enters the world. This world.
Yeah, so they kind of like become like a reality warper from kind of like Marvel, where they can influence the atoms around them in that sense.
I was more thinking. Sorry, I'm more thinking. This is a really weird thought. Harry Potter animated paintings, where you've got the people inside the paintings that can sort of shuffle stuff around, but the person on the outside has the paintbrush where they sort of create stuff without really thinking about it too much, but they can't interact with it.
I like that. I really like that a lot. That's cool. Yeah. Like I really.
And you can also...
That is a really interesting comparison.
Sorry, my brain's trying to find a fixation point because the ideas that we're throwing around are just.
It's just lighthearted banter about consciousness and eternity. It's fine. Throwing some Stewie Griffin, some Harry Potter. It's classic. Good stuff, man.
Do you think in Harry Potter, like they physically have to set up the links between paintings, or do they just like exist in a painting world behind them? Like.
That's another book again.
That's right.
I'm gonna get to that book in some point. It's called Mirrorscape, but eventually.
What?
It's about the world inside paintings. You need to put a special symbol on each of the paintings for them to become part of the world. But that's by the by. Don't worry about it. I'll get to it later.
Oh, damn. Interesting.
There's no wiki for it. It's gonna take me a while to write the episode.
Okay. Quick. Before we'll jump over to Magic System. But I want like a one. As short as possible, like try and get it under 5 words, like kind of like leave people wanting. I want the darkest thing in your world.
Oh no!
Just in 1 or 2 words, and then the and then the funnest, like brightest thing in your world, right after each other.
All right.
Really want to make a roller coaster here, huh?
Yeah, I want to go up and down.
There's three. It's three words for the worst, right? Human morality dies. That's the darkest, and the brightest is human condition survives. Right.
I was thinking it was gonna be human imagination thrives or something like that. Yeah.
I like that too. I like that. But yeah, so like just
Interesting.
imagine. Oh, am I out of time? Sorry.
No, keep
no,
going.
no.
Not at all.
All right. So
By that time, I meant moving on to Jude. You're all good.
We start hurrying people along once it gets to like the 1 hour 50 mark. Don't
okay,
worry about it.
cool.
That's when we're like,
Right. Let's go. So think of it like this, right? Imagine a world where the absolute best of humanity has nearly limitless ability to do whatever they wish, right? So creation, art, like everything. But also think the absolute worst in humanity has nothing to stop them because death doesn't count anymore. Human morality was left on Earth. So, and you have nearly limitless abilities to change the world as you see fit by the strength of your imagination. So there's nearly limitless potential for the greatest of humanity and nearly limitless potential for the worst of us. And they interact all the time.
Well, it's also like kind of on that. This was just like one of the big things that I was thinking, especially in the first chapter, because obviously we're avoiding. We do put spoiler warning, but obviously trying to avoid spoilers for too many big things in the book. But I imagine first chapter's pretty free real estate, so to speak. Especially when he's like in the hospital bed dying and has been for some time.
Right.
It's very like the biggest thing that I particularly took away from it, which was like always a really interesting thought, I suppose, how not necessarily, I mean, it's still sad and like very depressing for the individual, but almost freeing in a sense of like when he's just saying like all these, you know, creepy things to nurses and doctors and stuff, and it's just very like, but then again, why the hell should I care? I'm dying, I've maybe got like a day left in me, what does it matter? What can they do? Throw me out of the hospital?
Right. What you gonna do? Kill me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you say, it's almost like the freeing aspect of, as dark as it is, almost the freeing aspect of human morality dying.
Right. I try to toe the line with that one, and I'm really glad you brought that up. Where it's like he's still trying to be a good guy in a little way,
exactly.
but he's
He has
also
the conscience.
like right. But he's also like, why do I really care? So he kind of has to toggle between the two of those things.
Exactly.
But we all do.
Here's the one, yeah.
In a way.
Every day to day, you've got the internal thoughts of, what are you doing? Don't say that. Don't do that.
And then the other side, the devil on your shoulder's like, you should say it. Let's make this interesting.
Just be an asshole.
Let's see what happens.
They're really slow. Just trip them and keep
Oh my
walking.
god.
Or is that just me when I'm stuck
No,
behind
that's
people on
just
public
you.
transport?
Oh my god.
Oh, that was good.
We'll segue into magic then, I suppose.
very smooth.
I've just looking at my camera, I've realized I forgot to do a very key thing, and that is shut my door. So I'm just gonna do that real quick.
We'll take a quick pause.
So magic, how does that work?
With like
all
magical
magnets.
stuff.
Magnets.
Oh.
It's all magnets. It's all magnets. If your magic system doesn't work on magnets, it's not a real magic system. Sorry, Sam.
That's
I
the
mean,
barometer? Okay.
Hang on.
That's a problem.
Hang on. I'm gonna do a Illuminati conspiracy theory connection. Magnets
here we
is a
go.
type of energy. Energy goes to electricity. Is the neurons in your brain? Is human imagination? Is Dara?
Boom, we did it.
I'm fast. I'm good.
That's the whole book, yo.
Magnets equals Dar.
That's it.
Magnets equal Dara.
That's the tagline. I'm stealing
Always
that.
get it back to
Yeah.
magnets.
Nobody else will understand what the heck I'm talking about.
No one.
No.
Be like, Sam, what's the Pilgrim Soul about? Magnets, son.
Magnets.
Where did you go to
Magnets.
school?
Magnets.
They need to come have a physics lesson from Guy. I reckon he'll explain it.
No, there's a if you don't know people listening or Sam or there's a big rant we had. I
No,
think it's
don't
really-
let them in. They've got to listen to
it's-
our entire backlog of podcasts to be able to figure out what the
There's
fuck
a-
I'm talking about.
There's a half an hour rant in our
Do you try? If Matt tries to introduce me to the
X-Men.
concept of Magneto, and I completely reject it because I'm a physics student and I know that that doesn't work. Anyway, continue on. We have a guest here who's... We are letting someone into our living room and then having a domestic dispute in front of them where they just sit there on the couch, hands politely crossed, staring at us like...
I think we should ask Sam his opinion on Magneto. We're getting the domestic involved. Now get the guest involved. With
So what's your opinion?
Man, Magneto is almost too close to Superman, right? Too overpowered of anybody, it starts getting boring. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotta have a flaw.
Excellent.
Gotta have that.
I disagree,
mean, like,
but sure.
it's like throwing in kryptonite isn't even enough. You know, it's like, oh, you got
Yeah,
a green
yeah.
rock. It's like, come on, man, you could have done better than that.
Well, yeah. There's a
Little
comic
green
where
rock.
Superman breaks like the fifth dimension. So.
They just run out of, like, it's too
What's the fifth
overpowered.
dimension?
I don't know. They do it, okay.
I thought the fourth dimension was already the... Okay.
Their enemy's like a sixth dimensional being. Okay?
Why is there
We don't-
6 dimensions now?
I don't know. Okay, you go read DC Comics. I don't know how it works.
I don't want to.
It just sounds like they're just sitting in a basement somewhere and they're like, all right, nothing can beat Superman. What do we do? Fourth dimension? It's not enough. Fifth? Maybe sixth dimension Thanos from Marvel comes up because the sixth dimension is actually Marvel, and so they gotta go from Marvel to. It's just the whole thing. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm talking about.
Thanos comes over and does a 6th dimension snap, which half removes Superman's body.
There you go.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I like
just-
sixth
just-
dimension snap. That sounds like a ska band. I'm into it.
It does. Oh, fuck. Oh, I like that.
If we're snapping half of Superman, can we just leave his abs as torso? Because that's the best part.
Oh, I was
Whoa.
thinking like a down the middle kind of.
No. Just his
Down
torso.
the middle.
Yeah,
Just split him in half. Like,
yeah.
all right,
I'm thinking we carve the middle of him out, call him Hooperman.
Superman.
that's right.
That's I like Superman actually.
No, we're gonna cut the heart.
So we'll dive
No, it's
into
just called
magic
soup.
system somehow. Oh, guys, no.
I like it. I like it. I'm in for
Called
it.
soup.
Well, that's a weird segue from Superman with a hole in his stomach
Podcast
into
makes me so tired.
magic. Well, first off, I was going to ask if you could tell, especially the listeners who don't know as much about the book, about the magic system, but we've kind of already talked about that a whole bunch, so yeah, I'll dive right into the other parts of the questions.
Nice.
Sorry.
No, it's good, it's good. So, I have a very important question for you. 3 words. Hard or soft?
Ooh, man. So it's like
This is the big question.
I listened to y'all's podcast and I was like, I bet they're gonna ask this question if it's hard or soft. I knew they were gonna ask this question, and I'm gonna say kind of hard because it's not like a nebulous like ether that you could just pull from and make stuff happen. Like there's rules and mechanics because of the natural world, right? But it's like the Coors Light of hard magics, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you have to work within the realm of like earth or whatever element that you've come across, but once you have mastered that, the sky's the limit, right? Like
Yeah.
as long as your imagination can make it happen, then you're good to go. What's interesting though
Yeah.
is that a character, oh man, never mind. It's a spoiler for the second book. I know, but I
Got us
can't
on the
say
hook
it.
for the.
So like we in our sorry, I put you in our podcast in our what is it Hard Magic Stuff episode. We talk about like limitations and costs and stuff like that. So obviously, like the limitation is you have to train, you have to know it, you have to like. It takes years and years and years to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Are there any costs behind your magic system?
Not really. No, the cost itself actually. Screw it. We're going to talk a little bit about book 2. Sorry, guys. So the cost itself is actually the way in which you manifest changing, which is like this is the name of the magic system, is through Dara itself, right? And so whenever the like essence of Dara starts coming into the real world, that's how you can actually pull and create like magic in this like real time. What's interesting though is that like it has to still go within the natural world. So like one of the characters tries to change a handgun, but they can't because there's so many artificial elements that go into making a gun that it causes a static in his brain and he passes out. So like
I was gonna say when Simon first tries to use magic, he gets a big old headache. So
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah.
inexperience leads to pain.
Yeah, a bit of a physical pain. Also, like, imagine studying for, whatever, a big test and exam, and it does take a bit of that toll, right? But it's an
That
exam
always
to change
caused
the
me
world.
physical pain.
Yeah, it does.
I
It
mean,
really
yeah,
does.
you're trying to basically like understand some. I guess the magic system. You have to like understand something on a physical, like on a very basic level, how it functions, and trying to do it without understanding it in this world. Like it's like put this puzzle together without knowing how to put the puzzle together, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll take them time to put the puzzle together, but you're skipping the time, and instead of getting the time, you get a headache instead. Because like you actually don't you don't physically, you get to the end of it. Oh, I have a puzzle. I don't know how I did it, but now I have a really fucking bad headache and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of give up, I guess. That doesn't really work in the physical world.
Yeah. I guess
Awesome.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I guess there is a slight cost that I can talk about briefly, is that in order for you to manipulate the things within Dara, imagine if you could, your brain seeping out of you, or your consciousness seeping out of you and connecting to the thing. So that itself is a form of physical exertion that I guess would be classified as cost. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a whole nother muscle to train in a sense.
Yeah.
Talking about natural progression of things, I was just sitting here having a little think. Is watching grass grow and paint dry legitimate forms of study in this world?
Legit it is. It is.
That's our magic system.
That's it. Just
That's
sit
the
there
only
and look at
reason
paint.
no one's ever unlocked real magic in this world, because they're not willing to do that.
It's so boring.
That's the conspiracy
why we have no
theory.
magic.
It's like that's actually
Yeah, it
a
is.
code to become a wizard. So if you're listening to this, go outside, watch that grass, and you'll be able to unlock the magic.
Get
Please
some
don't.
fresh
That's
air
why
and watch some
society is training us to not do it because they don't want to know.
That's it.
The big
Yeah.
people who have magic don't want us to know.
taboo watching grass grow.
Hey man, the powers that be are already in Dara looking down on us like, oh
Hey.
shit, we can't let them get here.
That's it.
No. If they made it taboo, people would want to do it. It's not about being taboo. It's about making it so boring who would want to do it.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
The Illuminati's behind this.
I knew it. They're behind everything.
Yes.
They're coming for us on that as we speak.
So I was also kind of meaning as well. Do you have sort of like a preference, not necessarily just in your own book, because obviously yours is sort of, I'd say from the sounds of it, sort of halfway between the hard and soft.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference, like when you're just in your own personal enjoyment?
Oh,
Or do you?
absolutely. I 100% love hard magic systems. I legitimately do. Sanderson is the man. Sorry, y'all. Sanderson, the reason I got into Sanderson was because when he finished Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, and like he just took on, the Aes Sedai and like the Source magic system, the Mistborn series, like I love that. I love the mechanics of it. It's just because I think really what it is, if I'm just being honest with myself, therapy time, is that as a little kid, I really wanted magic to be real, right? And so, the more plausible an author can make it so that maybe, my mid-30s self can figure out a way to, make shit move with my mind, I'm down for it.
Yeah. Yeah. The more
Yeah, I
plausible
still
stuff.
want magic to be real.
Oh,
Super
100%.
confession time. I still X-Men try and telekinesis something just from time to time, just checking in.
Just checking it.
You've
You've
always got to check in if you've developed
Gotta-
the force yet, just
Exactly, you got to check if the X gene is set in yet.
Yeah,
Have you got
yeah.
any powers?
Who
there,
knows? Who knows?
Listen, you don't know when magic puberty starts. It could be 45.
Well,
you don't know.
But also,
It
one of
could
the
be.
other things is maybe it's like a gift from God, except it's like one of those sponsorship deals. First 100 people to try and move someone with their mind get telekinesis free.
Yeah,
That's
Get
exactly.
it free, and I'll throw in a quick Bible as well. You never know. Free Bible if you call now.
Hey man, I would pray real hard if I get telekinesis.
Oh, I'm telling you. 100%. Well, yeah, I mean, I literally
Oh,
just
no,
tried to move something with my mind just now, just to see. I was like, you know what? This might be a sign. Hold up.
It's just a chance. It's just
This
a
might be
chance.
the- I'm gonna turn my fan on.
Didn't work.
No.
So
Next time.
disappointing.
But yeah, hard magic all
Man, if
day.
you turn your
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Matt's a big fan of the hard magic systems.
hard magic is good.
Yeah,
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Good, soft is great for a good story. Hard is great for a good world.
Yeah,
most cases.
I think it kind of comes back to what role you want magic to play in your world. Like if you want the story to be about the secret chosen one who has magic, I'll probably do an episode on it at some point because I'm still reading the book myself. But like the Mistborn series, where it's all about the very special person being Mistborn, where they get to influence all these different metals and stuff. It's kind of really important that you have a really specific understanding, because there's like one scene in particular which like I think I read like literally the other night actually, which is like right near the start where one of the main characters, Kelsier, who is like one of the main Mistborn individuals, he's like in this room fighting all these people, and just the way that Sanderson writes it because I think people might remember from the soft magic episode we talked a little bit about it, how there's like 8 metals that they can burn, and then each metal has a very specific power, and it just like the way it writes specifically about he burns this metal and that allows him to pull this coin which goes smashing through this dude's head, and then the coin lands over there, and then he uses this other metal to push himself off of the coin, dodging out of another dude's attack, and then he does this metal to make himself stronger, and just all these things, the way it just very neatly works together. Yeah, it's just cool stuff.
So, have y'all ever read a book where it's like they spent so much time on the magic system and the world building that they just forgot to write a good story?
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that's one of the reasons why some people don't like world building and they don't like, you know, hard magic systems, is because, all right, I love Robert Jordan, like I really do. Like he's the man.
Yeah.
But like books 6 and 7, like that lost so many people because he literally just talked about, you know, women tugging their hair and then like these like strange knives, and it was just world building for 800 pages, right?
Yeah.
And so
It's
sometimes
like reading the Silmarillion here.
oh man, that's real life. That's real life. But it's just like, one of the hard things to do if you're a world builder is you forget to tell the story sometimes. So like I would get really obsessed with like specific parts of Dara, like especially where all the villains are. Like I love villains. Like villains are mine. Anyway, but I just built the whole world out, right? And I was just stomping around in there, and my editor's like, "Hey man, you kind of forgot to tell the story." It's just like 4 chapters of them walking around. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, "Oh yeah, my bad. Let me go back."
True, it's got to, which I guess that's kind of where people like myself that tend to slightly prefer stories with like the soft magic systems, because it's like the magic is there, not real, like it's there, but it's less about the magic, it's more about like the characters and the stories and stuff, and magic is just a random little flair to remind you that it's fantasy, you know?
Right.
I don't know if anyone here, it's kind of like it's a teen romance novel. So I don't know if anyone's read it. Anyone read the Mortal Instruments?
Oh yeah, I've read it.
You won't shut up about it.
I read
It's
it.
a good. Okay.
I
You
have
read it?
seen the
Yeah.
abysmal Netflix
And
show.
Okay, that's terrible. Okay, we don't talk about that.
It's
don't
pretty
talk
bad.
about that.
It's pretty bad.
But I love those series, and I've read like all the prequels, and I've read the sequels, and I'm reading the other sequels now, and other prequels now. But like
Matt's all about
that
that
world
teen
has-
romance, man.
Do it, man.
hey, who doesn't like a little bit of teen romance? Anyway, they're mostly characters. Anyway, the to be honest, the teen romance stuff is the stuff that I struggle to get through. The stuff that I really enjoy those books is the world building, because Cassandra Clare builds a world really well, but she gets too caught up. That's why the 5th book in the original Mortal Instruments series is the worst, because it's just them talking. There's no world building in that world, and it's just them talking about love. And I'm just like, come on, get back to the cool world building.
Yeah.
Where's
That is
the-
one thing, as someone that has seen the show. It was okay. It was pretty bad, but you could still appreciate the cool world, and
No.
it was. I would almost compare it to like the Star Wars prequels, where there's some really cool elements, but you see the characters talking to each other, and you hear the dialogue, and
stop.
it's like, oh, okay. That's how a scene would play out, with 2 people having an emotional conversation between the 2 of them. Cool,
When
nice.
it's the best times are when no one's talking.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. And you can just appreciate the really interesting world, because like they've translated the world from Cassandra Clare, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, and it's just like it's a really interesting fantasy world and concept and everything. Very like biblical inspired in that sense, which it's pretty cool.
I love YA. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. right? Like,
Yeah.
I know what I look like. Like, I'm covered in tattoos. I'm 6'1" and I'm big. I will get down on some vampires. I'm telling you. Like,
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong with that? Everybody was a teenager at some point. It's great to revisit those moments of angst. Like, why not, right? It also goes back to, like, Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instruments series is really cool about, like, you know, somebody who figures out that they're special. And that's, like, a kind of a trope in YA. But we literally, 5 minutes ago, were still trying to move shit with our minds. Like, just now, hoping we were special. You can't, like,
that is us.
You can't knock YA because we're still feeling that stuff. Now, there's trash YA.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's some terrible YA.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. Twilight makes my soul shrivel. It is wretched.
It's bad. It's just bad.
It is, like, the weirdest, misogynistic, strange, sideways story. I hate it. But I get down with some Book of the White, and I'm down with some, like, Mortal Instruments, for sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's awesome.
I don't know. No, I know.
I'm actually curious, Sam. Have you read a book series? Well, have you heard of an author called Joe Abercrombie by any chance?
I have heard of Joe Abercrombie, yeah.
Have you read his Shattered Sea trilogy?
No, I haven't. That's on my list.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's really, really good. It's a little, it was, because he's done another book series, which I haven't got around to reading yet, and was sort of aimed more adult fantasy, I suppose.
Sure.
Like, very harsh, brutal, rough, tough kind of world. But then he wanted to make a young adults trilogy. And it's really good because he brings a lot of the descriptors that he uses, and just the way that he writes. You can tell he's someone that's used to writing for not quite the young adult sort of audience. But yeah, it's just a thing I was thinking of when you guys speaking about young adult stuff. It's it kind of does the interesting world building and stuff. I'll talk about it at some point in the podcast probably, but similar to Guy, there's not really a wiki like Mirror's which does make it a bit harder.
Hampers progress.
Yeah,
I really hate it when there's a 7-book series and no wiki. It's like, do I have to take notes on every book?
Am I going to read through these 7 books in 3 weeks?
It's also one of those things where wikis are really nice because someone else has watched every episode on like 0.5 speed so they can notice all the Easter eggs. Like, I really want to do something on Dirk Gently, but the episodes are like not juicy enough to get that episode juice out of.
Additionally, like, if there's no wiki, or like a very, very bad, like it's a wiki's there, but like it's very bare bones, and you now have read of all 7 books, taken notes, and enough to make a podcast script on, you have an obligation to update that wiki.
You
do.
That's real.
We were talking about this. You're giving yourself a part-time job to sit there.
You have an obligation to fix that wiki, and you have to do that.
So are we making the Pilgrim Soul wiki after this episode? Or?
Let's do it. I'm in, man. I'm down.
I can't wait for us to like, and I think that the interpretation is like, and Sam, just delete.
It's the kind of book that you could do in an English class, and you could. I think sometimes you could pretty much go like, I think the author's trying to say this, and someone else could be, I think the author's trying to say the exact opposite of that, and you both could be half right.
Is it? Well, I mean, Sam, you're an English teacher, is that correct?
Yep. I am an English teacher, yeah. I'm 100% English teacher. And that is unfortunate how some English teachers do that. It is rough.
Yeah.
So the color red is symbolic of passion. It's symbolic of the fiery need for... It's like, no, he just wants the door to be red. That's it. Calm down.
It's a red door.
Yeah, just chill out.
Things just happen sometimes.
Sidebar,
Like,
have you ever had a student have a real bad take on a book, which has just made you go like, hey... What?
Oh yeah. Okay, so can't say all of these, but like, when I was like, okay, guys, we're gonna talk about Shakespeare today, right? Because it's English class. Everybody's got to touch on Shakespeare. It's just what it is.
you always talk about Shakespeare.
You have to. It's like a rule. And I was like, so who knows about Shakespeare? This kid raises his hand. He goes, yeah, he's that gay French dude that wore the frills, right? And I was like, none of that's right. Like, nothing you said is correct.
No,
but you can't start laughing, right? It's just like, what are you talking about? But
That's that meme. That's that line from The Last Jedi. Amazing. Everything you just said was raw.
that's right. That's a lot of my life actually. Whenever I'm listening.
Being
to
a
kids.
responsible adult's hard because it's very easy to laugh at people, but it's very hard to not. Working in a tech job at like Officeworks, which is the main like branded stationery store. Like I think Staples is probably akin.
Sure.
Where basically we just sell stationery and some small tech stuff, and people just coming in being like, I need to connect my modem to a monitor, or I need an XD card. It's like, do you mean SD card? No, I need an XD card. I'm certain they say it's like, it doesn't exist. Oh my god, I want
XD.
being an adult hard.
I think
XD.
everybody needs to work with the public at least once.
Yeah.
So that you feel so much more patient to your waiter or servers, so you feel better for your tech people. And also, because of the pandemic, teachers had to teach fully virtual. I have a complete new respect for tech people. My dear sweet lord. The amount of times I would get an email that just says, yo, this doesn't work. What is this? What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
So,
No,
hats off.
it's ridiculous how much, especially because Guy and I do like computer science or software engineering, and like it's amazing how much people go to you and like, can you fix this? And I'm like, no.
Think I know anything more than you do?
Not what? You think I've taken apart a computer before? You think I've done?
Knocking back
No.
to world
Can you
building,
fix a
though,
human
and
brain?
knocking back
No.
to hard and soft magic systems, I didn't get to do my take, so I want to get in here.
do
Soft
it.
magic in my defense.
Can I give one very quick tangent for English class, which I think is funny?
Go,
and
Yes.
shoot.
I know, Guy hated English. Oh no,
There
no,
was-
no,
so,
don't go.
So in like our final year of high school,
No.
Matt and I were in the same English class,
Yes.
and we did Frankenstein, and go figure, like half the kids don't bother reading the books. Matt and I were good little nerds who read all the stuff, obviously. And there were some lads in the class who hadn't read the book at all, and Matt fully tricked them into believing there was like this full gay make-out scene between Victor and Robert Walton toward the end, and they fully believed it and like went like nearly into the final exam thinking this was a thing of those two toward the end of the book.
I did feel bad. I told them, but
So the question though
they were.
was the monster in the corner watching? Like,
Yes.
yeah, he was.
No, but like when people don't read the book and you want to,
You deserve to be punished for your sin.
Exactly,
Yes.
a little bit. I thought Jude was going to bring up the thing about whenever English people were doing bad, the teacher would just look at Jude.
Oh, that was...
what? Why?
Oh, context. Jude's British, Matt's New
Jude's
Zealand,
British.
I'm Australian, so...
True. Yeah, there was. Yeah, whenever we were reading a book, what was it? There was
The
one
Longest
we.
Memory?
Sorry.
It was the longest memory, or was Black?
Yeah,
Black
there was
Tickets?
like these poems which are sort of early Australian settlement and English bad stuff. And every time it was mentioned about England or British people doing like a horrendous act, she would just look at me, and I'm like, "What do you want from me?"
Apologize now!
in the middle of English. She wouldn't like me. It wasn't like the obvious thing, but she just glanced in Jude's direction every time.
And to your right, you have a colonizer right here.
Yeah.
You get it, right, Jude? Yeah.
Yeah, you get it.
Get it?
God,
Any
it was
input?
so
I
funny.
don't know.
I just sit there like, gee, okay.
God.
So go
Putting
with your
it,
take, go with your take.
okay, soft magic system, my defense of, it's funny. That's it, that's all I think. Because there are times in some soft magic things that I'll watch where something will just come out. Like, for example, going back to Dirk Gently, there's a bit where all of a sudden he can read someone's thoughts for just, like, a scene. And someone's just like, hey, what the fuck? And he's just like, because he's saying he's like
yes.
sitting at a cafe table going like, I'm not psychic, this isn't how this works, I don't care about you and your little drawing of a stupid cowboy. And the guy's like trying to make him guess the picture. He's like, oh, it's a how it's very good. I enjoy comedy in that sort of way because it lets it free flex. But another sidebar, going back to, you mentioned a love of villains.
Yeah.
I'm so good
Can
at
I-
segueing.
No, can I
I've
quickly?
got,
Can I
I've got a little
quickly?
bit more magic stuff
Go,
before we
just
go into
go.
Yeah.
We'll come back to villains.
We were going
Good-
so far off track, I don't give a shit what track we get back onto.
Yep.
I'm having a good time.
Sorry, I was gonna another question. So, do you find that you have? So you've said that you love like hard magic system, love it. Like, how can I word this better? Well, so like I found myself whenever I've been like writing stuff of my own in the past, and like just writing my own little novels and world building stuff, I always found it, as much as I would much prefer soft magic systems, watching them, I could only ever find myself writing a hard magic system. I just couldn't seem to write the soft part. Do you ever find that where like so you've said you really prefer the super hard magic system. Do you find that you would struggle to write in that sort of strict limitations, or?
Oh yeah. So one of the things that is just like an ironclad cardinal rule of nerddom is whatever you write, it's got to be believable enough, right? So like if you create an implausible situation that somebody can't get behind, you will be destroyed. And it's true.
You'll be smited.
It's true.
That's literally our podcast. That's what we do.
I mean,
we are the hammer.
We
that
are the
smites.
wielders of the holy flame.
like as nerds, we love hard, but if you like mess with our emotions in canon, we will destroy you. And so
Yeah.
I always am worried about like creating a world or a situation or a character that's not believable. And so I spent a long time like making sure that characters that interacted with each other actually had like similar or different cultural dialects according to the time in which they came to Dara. So like, for example, an ancient Greek is like best friends with a German doctor from the 15th century who's also an alcoholic. And so to get those two to interact, I had to make sure that like certain cultural norms and styles of speech were similar enough to be believable. So for me, I always am afraid of soft magic because it's like it's too much of a catch-all, right? Where it's just like, and then it was all a dream, the end. Like that ending, which is so awful. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
The ultimate soft.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Ultimate.
Yes.
I do like. I mean, the
That
catch.
was never the same after the
That's
car
what-
accident. He
that's
was
what-
in the ultimate song.
That's what they call me. The ultimate
That's your
soft.
brain.
Dear God.
That's me.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next question. Let's get on that real quick.
Yeah. Segue from ultimate soft.
I think. Oh.
To ultimate hard.
Oh no.
I think actually the last two questions we've sort of already answered in like talking about other things. So I was going to ask like what sort of influences do you draw from with writing magic? I think we've already kind of established like the Sanderson sort of stuff and etc. Is there anything else you wanted to add to like that sort of things that you were maybe directly or indirectly inspired about?
Neil Gaiman, 100%.
Yeah.
Because Gaiman seamlessly incorporates mythology, like actual historical mythology, and magic, right? In such a way that is just awe-inspiring and also really frustrating. Like, as a fellow writer, you're like, how are you that good? Like, why
Yeah.
do you make me feel like I suck so bad? Like, what are you doing? But he's
I was like, I know that author, but like, what does he write? What has he written?
Stardust, Neverwhere, Sandman series, American Gods, Anansi Boys.
I think it's Sandman and American Gods is how I know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Good Omens as well.
Yep.
Oh no, he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him and Terry Pratchett.
Yeah. Great book. Great book.
Yeah, awesome.
One of my favorite.
Okay, yeah,
writers.
so yeah. That is awesome. And then sort of like the final thing I was going to ask about, which I mean we've kind of talked about it a lot already. I think especially with that adding on some Neil Gaiman stuff. Just if you had any favorite novels that use magic, but I guess you've kind of already established that with Wheel of Time to an extent, Mistborn series, and Gaiman books.
Stormlight Archive, incredible magic
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm gonna throw Matt one, man. Like the Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instruments, like the Warlock system, Book of the White. Like, come on, that's cool. Magnus Bane,
I
come
love-
on, that's pretty
Yeah,
slick.
yeah. so
Magnus.
good.
Oh, Magnus is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like legit.
It's it really interests me how they work, especially the times where they talk about living forever and what it actually means. And there's like that one warlock who's lived longer. The only warlock Magnus knows who's lived longer than him goes insane because he can't experience anything new. And Magnus is like, "Fuck, is that what's gonna happen to me?"
Brain full.
Yeah.
I love that part.
That actually is.
Yeah, I
talking
mean, it's
about-
also. That's right.
Oh,
Almost,
ooh,
just to throw another tangent into this mix of weird genres we're talking about, kind of like Doctor Who in a sense, where he's like bored, and the reason he has to travel with companions is because he's literally experienced all of time and space. He needs to show someone else to make it worthwhile.
He also kind of loses humanity. I like
Yeah.
how he sometimes has to remind himself that these are humans in front of him. Like I think there's one scene with Clara and names escaped. Yeah, Capaldi, where he gets out like cards
Yeah,
to
yeah.
use it because
yeah,
talk to
yeah.
humans.
He's
'cause
like,
he can't
"Oh,
talk
your
to
friend's
people.
gone," and she's like, "You're doing it again," and pulls out the little social cue cards and goes,
Yeah.
"Use this one."
Because he's getting excited about the death of a friend.
Yeah.
Oh no, but no. Also, I think was that the end of your Magic, Jude?
Yeah, that was. I mean, we can
the
keep
end
talking
of your
about it. That
magic.
was like the
But-
the sort of guiding questions I had just to make sure we had something.
Can we? But can we ask the more important questions here? Hard or soft tacos?
Fuck's sake.
That's way more important than your magic system.
Oh man.
Thank you.
I accept that. I think that tacos are better than my magic system. I agree. I would say
I'd rather tacos than magic any day.
soft tacos from a traditional like taco truck or taqueria, right?
Mm-hmm,
I love that, man. Like chorizo, cilantro, onion, little sauce, delicious. But if I'm making them at my house, I gotta have the crunch. So
Yeah, that's fair.
So kind of like your magic system, you gotta have a bit of hard, bit of
that's
soft.
man, it's really weird that you're using those words so much. But yeah,
Yeah, I can't believe I did a whole episode on this shit.
Come on, they're normal words in the English language. It is your mind that's creating the image that's making them wrong. Think about that.
Ah.
Thanks, man. No, how would changing affect a taco?
all right.
Could
so,
you?
Well, but the natural progression of a taco is to turn
Tacos
to
to be
mush.
eaten, to mold.
Can I
Just
change
mold.
a taco to be in my stomach?
Can you reverse the taco? Back
No,
to the stage?
don't!
Can you reverse a chicken back into a chicken?
well, so-
What are you talking about?
Do you mean an egg?
No. Like.
Are you
can go
talking
one way.
about like a raw chicken? Like from-
Surely you can make an egg into a chicken, but can you make like like a raw chicken into a live chicken?
Is a live
Is that
chicken
all-
not a raw chicken?
Yeah, but can you make it alive again?
Are you?
are you actually
Can you
asking?
revert a chicken?
Can you cook something and then uncook it?
Yes, you can in a way, right? But you would have to think about the tissue and the flesh that you just cooked and manifest that to stitch back into a form of a chicken. So you would actually get the breast or whatever it is that comes from chicken meat in a taco. And then you'd have to
Yeah.
find the rest of the chicken and stitch it back together. And then potentially, yeah.
So if you had like the feathers and you have all the feathers, you have all the parts.
Yep.
Can you bring it back to life?
You could
Or
become
is the soul gone?
a changing necromancer, but that would take a lot of time. It would. I think you could pull it off. I'm pretty sure.
I think I know what I want to do. I think I want to know what I want to become in this world.
Just a weird chicken necromancer.
Basically, that's my job.
What are you
in life.
doing? I'm forging trees into mighty cities, and your project? I'm bringing together the natural forms of life to increase, crop yield and help people survive. And you, Matthew? Oh, the same.
I'm
As
bringing
he
things to
holds
life.
out an egg, turns the egg into a chicken, and then turns the chicken back into an egg.
As I kill it,
That's
then
your
put it
only
back
trick.
together.
Other people are like fighting wars, and you're just like, haha,
This is taking me 500 years. Check this out.
let me have this.
Hey, I have the power. Hey, I can giveth life and I can taketh away.
I could just see like a battle sequence where I'm riding. It's like these crazy, like just lightning and fire, and then Matt runs out with his chicken. What about that?
No. What you do is you
army
get like a
of
bunch of
chickens.
you get a bunch of eggs. It's something like dangerous, like a T-Rex, and you throw a bunch of eggs at them, and then you grow them into big T-Rexes.
It's not a fucking Pokeball.
It's a Pokeball. I've created a Pokemon in the tile.
Oh, that's awesome, actually. I like that. I don't know how I'm going to write a character that's a Pokemon Egg Master.
You have to be 500 years
Like
old.
imagine you made like a bunch of spiders grow into like big like huntsman-sized spiders.
Hey,
in,
what
like,
if you
the
didn't do
That would
that?
be horrible. That would be. I mean, you like trap like because it could be like a trap. You put it in
Matt,
someone's bed, and then when
you're
they get
thinking
into it,
way
you make
too
it into like a.
small. I'm thinking of getting like 6 pet huntsmans who I throw at people and turn into Shelob-sized spiders.
Can you
You
turn
know,
into
you're
Shelob?
both thinking too small. I'm thinking about getting like a actually no, that's born. There's no large animals that are born in eggs. I guess like a baby
Crocodile?
white
Crocodiles come from an egg.
blue whale, and then you throw it into a room and just crush everyone.
How would you throw a baby blue whale?
I
They're
mean,
this big.
I can
They're like 3 times the size of you. Do you know how big baby blue whales are?
Baby whales are huge.
yeah, but what about adult ones? They're even bigger.
What, if you had enough understanding of physics, you could probably take an electron and then throw it and then make it explode into like a giant thing, and
Oh.
kill everybody, and then bring it down to atomic size.
That's Magneto level there.
Ugh, yeah,
that's
that's too
Magneto.
overpowered. That's boring. You're right.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that you can like set a trap for someone you don't like. Set spiders, make lots of spiders in the bed and make them grow into big spiders.
Yeah.
That's not.
Oh,
I don't like
that's
you.
awesome.
That's I despise you and wish you off this planet.
Yeah, but no, but it's death isn't a thing in this world. It's discomfort probably in I don't know, like in a world when you just, in a world where you keep dying and come back to life, discomfort would be like kind of worse. Long discomfort would be worse than dying.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
it's life is
Like
death is cheaper because you just come back. So like what?
exactly.
There's a lot of bad guys that actually trap people and make them suffer for a very long time because just to kill them isn't enough, right?
Who's the rock?
It's
who's the
free.
rock man in Greek mythology?
The guy gets fuck.
You know who
the
I'm
guy's on
talking
the rock with the vultures and gets his liver.
No,
eaten
not
out
him.
of
The
it.
one who's rolling the rock up the hill.
Oh, what?
Oh, that's
Who's
Sisyphus.
Yeah, that's the shit.
That's the
Who's
Sisyphus.
the one I'm thinking of? Which it's the Titan.
Prometheus.
Prometheus.
Yeah.
There.
And then there's who's the one who's holding up the planet? That's another
Atlas.
one. Atlas. Oh man, there's a lot of bad things you could do.
I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about suffering.
I mean, that's Atlas's job, to be
living,
honest.
Living by the Law, episode 1, where you talk about what's his name, Big Daddy in Keys to the Kingdom, who gets his eyes pecked out every night and his legs hacked off.
I
by
thought
the-
you were saying we're just gonna subject someone to episode 1.
To be honest, that would be torture.
Sisyphean
That is-
torture.
Yeah.
Going back to those rough episodes.
Oh, that was
The clockwork robots that come out every
Oh,
night
yeah.
and chop his legs off. And,
Well,
like,
that
cut
is
his
that
eyes
is
out.
like a direct
Yeah.
thing for Prometheus.
Oh,
so
yeah,
basically,
yeah.
he's trapped on a clock face, and every 12 hours, the chains in the clock tighten him so he can't move, and then a clockwork creatures come out of a box, and basically one has a corkscrew and one has a hammer or something like that, and
Yeah.
they rip out his eyes. And it changes every like millennia. They change the body part, then they change the form of the clockwork creatures and stuff like that,
Steampunk.
just to make it a little bit
Prometheus.
creepier.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it, but it's
Speaking
great.
And the greatest thing about them is they move like puppets without strings.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a big no.
Speaking of
Yeah.
villains and tortures and creepy stuff, you were discussing.
You can't laugh. That was good.
I
Come
know
on.
it wasn't. It was never good.
It was okay.
It was decent.
Don't make.
was decent.
Don't try and help me. I'm fine.
Now it's not. Now it's terrible.
Dear God.
Discussing interest of villains and their motivations, I'm just gonna sort of let you freeball on this one because you just described an interest in this sort of villain ideology and how they think about things. So
Absolutely.
head on.
Let's do it. Villains are my favorite. They really. I don't care what anybody says. We are both the heroes and the villains of our own stories, so we have a love affair with villains. We can't help it, right? Like Jaime Lannister, for example. He was this horrible person for quite a few books, and then all of a sudden people loved him. Like, why? He's like a West Virginia blonde boy. Like, he's really into sibling love. Like, what happened? Why is everybody into him? But so what I really enjoyed about creating villains for my book is that there is no rules, no limitations, right? There's no like form of government. There's no punishment, right? It's literally the sky's the limit. So for Simon, he comes into a place called Valoran, where everybody who tried to live a just or ethical life, that's kind of where they start. But those who prefer like community and love, they come to a place called Elysium. but for those who find pleasure in the more vulgar of the human condition, they ended up in a place called Nisati. And so I'd really just like to explore like all these horrible tropes. Like, what does it mean to somebody who is already kind of inherently evil to then have carte blanche to do whatever you want, right? And so it was interesting to kind of like just dive into that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that a, like, intimidating thing to tackle, just giving your villain basically unlimited power?
Absolutely, except for I apparently have some sort of disorder where I really enjoyed it, right? So like, I might need to think about that a little bit with myself for a little while. But so it was really interesting to tackle because it made me think about how much of myself is dictated by societal norms versus what it means to be a good person, right? So imagine if you have limitless power. To go back to Superman, I don't see Superman being good over time, right? If he's immortal and has limitless power, at some point he's going to get bored with humanity and start doing stuff that aren't the best.
Did someone say Homelander?
That's a good character.
Yeah, what is it? What's the quote? Like, unlimited power corrupts absolutely?
Yeah, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so the main antagonist was an old Roman general that lived his entire life through a very strict moral code, very rigid. You know, whenever Rome was really coming to power and prominence in the ancient world, they were very, 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 like, set in stone with their morality and ethics. And so Scipio tried to live that way for a century, actually, when he gets to Dara. But then it erodes away and exposes his true self, and he just goes completely bananas after that. So...
Are there more older characters that are heading that way? Is that sort of something that is inevitable, or do we see examples of older characters that are somehow resisting? And are they doing that in good ways, or do they still have that sort of dark impulse?
Well, what was interesting is that one of the characters that is considered like one of the most morally like virtuous is actually spent quite a few centuries in Nisati, right? And so you have the ability to go back and forth. So with eternity, you know, sometimes you're good, and then maybe for 20 years you like are horrible, and then you go back and forth, right? Because again, one of the big underlying messages of the book is trying to find a way to evolve through Dara, to like go through something called a journey, where you find the thing in your own first existence that like held up your evolution and enlightenment, and you try to, you know, figure a way out of that. And so for some people, it's going through less than ideal situations. It's like exploring the darker self to see what that's like. So a lot of characters are both good and evil, which I think makes them more interesting.
Always, yeah. The most interesting villain's always the one that thinks they're the good guy.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about this... Wait, Matt was talking about this during some prep episodes. What was that about?
I think.
What? Which one?
There was a... you were talking about the villain that had really thought that they were doing the best thing. Marvel?
Oh, Doctor Doom?
Yeah.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doctor Doom is my favorite Marvel character of all time.
Really?
Because one, he is one of the most awesome. He is like he's the second, kind of tied depending on which comic you read. Either tied with Reed Richards and Reed Richards' daughter. But like of the smartest person in the Marvel universe. He's a tech genius as good as Iron Man. He's an engineer. He's as magically finesse as the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. And also, he's just a boss. Like, there's a line... there's a line where Spider-Man comes through the window, and then to break into, like, the Doom's mansion, and then Doom just breaks down a wall in his own mansion and to walk into the room, and Spider-Man's like, why did you break down the wall? And it's like, how else would I enter a room? A door? Like a peasant?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the level that you aspire to get to in like villainy. Just outright like, there's no other way to enter a room.
Besides being a Kool-Aid man? Like, what are you talking about?
Kool-Aid Man is the apex of villains.
Right.
Yeah, that's no. But
Is there
the
any
thing
greater
about-
sin than the destruction of property?
Yes.
Yes.
Shut up.
Yeah, probably a few.
Yeah.
Just a
Do you think I
guy.
actually put any thought into anything I say? No.
I'd say at least 2 nanoseconds are put into thought
Maybe, yeah.
But
between brain and mouth.
Yeah, that's it. That's about all it takes.
No, it's really
Dr.
interesting though, especially like I dare say of the people in this podcast, I've probably done the most just because I'm a weird nerd for obscure parts of history, looking into like Roman time and the Gaelic wars and stuff, just because there's really, really fun stuff for me in terms of that whole like, you know, well, the Gaulish wars for a start, just really, really interesting time period. It's kind of horrifying to imagine a single fucking Roman general from that time period just being in this position of absolute power when you think about the sort of stuff that,
oh yeah, classic morality does not line up to our morality at all, and those were the good
No.
guys.
Yeah, to finish the Doctor Doom bit, it's just like Doctor Doom has seen. So there's a thing with the Panther god Basque, basically, who is the god that gives Black Panther their powers, basically, and the god has the powers to see into all possible futures. And Doctor Doom goes to her and like she does that kind of thing and look to all possible futures, and together they look into all. And the only future that the world is at total peace is a future where Doctor Doom rules. Because he wants to rule the world to stop bad things from happening. And so the only thing, and that's why like the Panther World Gas basically gives him a bunch of vibranium, says take all you want, because like he's like, well, that's the best future for the world.
Black Panther goes and cries in the corner.
Yeah, I know, right? But like the thing that always gets in Doctor Doom's way is his one downfall is the greatest sin of all, pride. If he wasn't prideful, he doesn't think I'm the best guy of all time, he'd succeed.
But if you were, you'd think that, wouldn't you?
That's true.
Is
You are the
pride an
best of all
issue
time.
in Dara? Like with people getting infinite power and knowing that they have better powers than everyone else?
Not really, actually, because you know they also understand that at some point somebody could literally reset them pretty quickly. Like you're living this whole life and you're an adult, and then you try to like be flippant with somebody, like a child or somebody you think is less than you, but it's actually a 3,000-year-old druid that's like just in child form for the moment, right?
Oh no!
And so
oh no!
they just straight like boil your brain because you were rude to them. So
Yeah.
but
Not the 3,000-year-old druid child.
I guess infinite time takes away from it. That's interesting. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
You had to play your... Yeah.
well, I mean, you don't know, right? And also to go back to Doctor Doom, there was that whole long, like, debate amongst people whenever Thanos snapped, was like he was actually the good guy, right? Where like there's only like a finite amount of resources, like he saved the planet, he saved the universe, like there's that whole argument, and it's not nearly illogical either. I mean, it's kind of sucks, but
There's a in the comics it's pretty clear he does it to impress a girl. So
And to make slight editors.
yeah,
But,
so to make him a little more sympathetic, they changed it a little bit.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you can't argue. Like it's hard to argue. Like
Pure-
humanity could be a parasitic species. So
Pure logic villains are one of the hardest to combat.
Yeah.
In terms
Yeah.
of like
Oh, yeah.
heroes being like, but it's better. Like, oh my god, I cannot remember where I saw this, but it was one of these things of, I think it was someone infected with a sickness, and the heroes were like, no, we've got to protect her, she's got to live. But then everyone else was like, no, we want to burn her alive. It sucks, but she's gonna kill us
Yeah.
all if we don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that from? It was like a
2020.
Sure, I don't know, I can't remember.
Sure.
I mean,
No, I think you were talking about Jaime Lannister before. I think like one of my all-time favorite villains, surprisingly not from Lord of the Rings, like everything else that's my favorite of all time. But I actually Tywin Lannister by far one of my favorite villains.
but was he a villain though?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Antagonist at the very least, but yeah, just such an awesome character in terms of
Definitely not a good person.
well.
Well, so
Yeah.
that's the
But then
thing.
again, you think about the things that he wants. He wants to secure the safety of his family. He wants to secure his legacy. and he wants to, yeah, that's basically it. He wants his family to be the legacy of his whole family, which are like pretty sympathetic things in a lot of ways.
So Tywin, like honestly, okay, so Tywin came into a house that was starting to collapse because his father was weak, right? And so he, killed all those people, and that's why there's the Reigns of Castamere. And then Tyrion was a dwarf, and his two twins were too close to each other, yet somehow he still managed to make them like the Hand of the King, the ultimate power in the Seven Kingdoms. So like when it comes to a family man, he did pretty good.
He did. Yeah. Very, 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 very cool time. And it's amazing and sucks that he died on a toilet with a crossbow bolt.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, how can people like be stopped in Dara? How can people be killed? Like, how do you stop a villain? I don't want to spoil it. Don't spoil anything. But how do you stop someone who, if you just kill them, they come back to life?
Well, you can't really. But what you can do is you can trap them for an extended period of time. And as long as you have enough understanding of changing, you can actually manifest their own brains to keep them in a state of stasis. So there's a way to essentially trap them for at least close to a century in like a weird fugue state, right? And so there are horrible creatures and humans of Dara that we don't really see until the third book that were like that. But once things start to collapse and they let out like the big baddies, it gets really cool.
Ooh, that's good. That sounds really good. No, but that's like the parallax thing where they're like, in the terrible movie, The Green Lantern.
That's a good movie. Don't at me.
That's not a good movie.
It's fun.
By the way, Guy and Jude like all the terrible movies.
I have so many bad.
Yeah, you like.
No, I'm the one
Dark
who's the
World,
worst.
okay?
You guys have been talking about all these good book series and even Game of Thrones, and I'm like, yeah.
So
That's why I'm here. Alternative.
Imagine the home brand version of any movie you like. That's what Guy's watched, and he hasn't watched the real one.
Okay.
I'm sorry that the only ones that were available on Netflix was The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You're the worst.
I'm sorry.
You're actually...
Man.
He's also
Anyway.
only seen The Hobbit and not Lord of the Rings. Just
Yeah.
He forced me to watch the first movie, and I don't remember it.
He's seen The Hobbits, but not The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That
It was on
makes-
Netflix.
That makes me really sad. Like
Lord of the
a
Rings is on
fundamental
Netflix.
level.
It's why I'm here. I provide the alternative viewpoint. And that way these guys can talk about some dumb shit with gnomes and dwarves in it. I can be like,
Yeah.
cool, nice.
It's our fault. We didn't invite Guy.
no, there's no gnomes.
Wait, have you read Lord of the Rings though? You've read
No.
it.
No.
What?
I haven't watched Star Wars either. Trust me, I'm bad.
This guy's... Yeah.
See, all of these facts are buried in episode 1, which is why...
We keep him around because he knows about video games, so we have to get that audience. We
You gotta
gotta
pull
pull
that.
that.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for.
So it's like
But
it's like Jude in English class, right? Where it's like we get to like the terrible part of the show, and we're like, "All right, guy,
look at you.
you know what I'm
What have
talking
you got
about."
for...
No.
Hey, listen, I had Kirby the other episode, and it was good.
Kirby episode was great. I really enjoyed
I
it.
do
Kirby's
like
a chaos
Kirby.
demon, in case you didn't know.
What did you
Kirby's
say?
a
He's
god.
a Kirby.
Is
Kirby's a chaos demon god.
That's awesome.
he's an embodiment god level being, and it's like, holy fuck.
I mean, where's the
In
line?
canon.
Yeah.
That's in canon. It's dumb. But my point was Green Lantern, right? Parallax. They kill him at the end of the movie, so obviously he can be killed, right? They throw him into a sun. Easy kill. They just trap him on like an asteroid somewhere. Why lock a creature up for eternity or like 100 years or whatever? Like blah blah blah. They can always escape when you could just kill something. Dara's an interesting.
I was gonna
You can't
say
kill
Dara's
them,
a very good reason why.
Yeah, exactly. You can't kill someone. I like that too. Like trapping someone. Like you can't use the trap someone when you can actually kill something. You know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that in media when you can kill someone.
Quick question. When someone's reborn, do they always get reborn into the same body? They always look the same? I'm thinking about ways I can track down the kids when I kill them. I'm trying to beat it.
So there's a
John, a guy's trying to find a way to kill
I'm
kids
prepping myself for
repeatedly.
Dara. Don't at me.
He can, when he kills someone, he can keep killing them for eternity as a child.
So another way to do it, there's literally descriptions of the fact that as a baby, they don't know how to move.
Yeah,
That is true.
Kill the child.
So, yes, technically, what you could do is you could find like the Mary character, like the carrier, and then like just wait for the baby to come and just like yeet him off of a cliff, like over and over again. Like you could do that, right?
Wait, will it always be to the same Mary character, or will it be different women every time?
Well, generally it goes to the same, right? Like because
Oh, so you just have to find their god mum
Well,
and then just keep
generally,
throwing
though.
the baby off the cliff.
if the carrier dies, then they find the next closest. Because the way that you come
Yeah,
into the
right.
world is based upon like your morality and ethics and things like that, right? Like your original state. So you would find the carrier, you would drag her to a cliff, guy, and then you would just
Yeah.
Sparta them.
No, I don't want my name attached.
This is how guy will
This
live
is
in
what's
Daria.
the bad town?
Nisadi.
I'm getting a ticket straight to there.
Straight to Nasadi.
God
He's
damn
gonna-
it.
I expect to see a character in the third book named a guy who's just an utter shithead
No!
who has to throw babies off cliffs.
I got it.
So is it
I
just-
got you, man.
Do the
It's being
do the cities do the cities naturally build themselves over time because of like how the selves were formed, or is someone judging like who's moral and who's not?
Okay, now that's a good question. So
Ooh.
there is now bear with me, this is gonna get a little kind of high nerdy, right? But like if
Oh, yeah.
enough consciousness manifests and creates worlds, right? Then at some point the argument is that consciousness with enough of an amalgamation of it forms its own super consciousness, right? And so at the end of book 1 we get to meet that entity briefly, and it just calls itself choice. And so there is a guiding presence of sorts, but it is because of all of human conditions, like consciousness and thoughts, it does manifest a being of sorts that does kind of help direct a few things, but mostly because it is called choice, it's really more bent upon free will than anything else.
Yeah.
It's like the amalgamation of human thought. Like I guess the amalgamation of like how we perceive ourselves. If everyone, the same person was checked in the same mind, it'd be like that.
Yes.
So like, kind of like humans create their own god.
Very, yeah, that's actually a kind of an allegory for that, right? Where it's like, if you were to go back, just as you are right now, 200 years, people would think that you're a wizard, and they'd probably burn you. But like, like the amount that we have progressed as a species, right, is incredible. Like, can you imagine there's a bit by a comedian where it's like, if you took Transformers 3 to a theater in the 1950s, like, people would have heart attacks and, like, freak out and, like, it's like that, where we just kind of have it like, oh, Michael Bay's trash, whatever. But back then, it would blow somebody's mind. Like, they would freak out.
Yeah.
And so, it's...
So I'm guessing I'm guessing it evolves over time, right? Because I'm guessing the consciousness of like 15th century beings would not be the same as now.
I just want to cut in real quick. Sorry, I'm waving my hands around on the camera. I want to point out there's another thing which, with the Transformers thing, there's one that I also quite enjoy, which is every extreme cheese Dorito that you have has more extreme cheese flavor than a peasant from the 1500s ever experienced in their whole life. A single Dorito.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that in there because that's one of my favorite thoughts. Every time I have an extreme cheese Dorito, I enjoy that just so wholeheartedly.
There's a lot of flavor in a single chip of extreme cheese Dorito.
It's extreme.
That is the...
It is
Continue.
Here's a question.
No, Matt was going to do something, wasn't he?
Isn't it supreme cheese?
No, it's extreme. I'm Googling this. I'm
pretty sure it's supreme.
It is definitely extreme.
It's supreme.
It is not supreme.
The new tagline needs to be, do you want to flex on the peasants of the 15th century?
It's cheese supreme. Oh my god, I'm going to die.
It's cheese supreme.
No, it's...
Look it up. I am a god. I know my fucking Doritos. Okay.
Now this is the content we're all here for.
Oh my god, it is actually.
It's cheese supreme. I'm sorry, Sam. Sorry
here
when
for
you
it,
got
man.
yourself mixed up.
I'm down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sorry. This is our podcast. This is what we do.
I'm here for it. I like it.
My
No,
world.
I've got a quick question before I let Matt continue.
Sure.
I think I've actually broken Guy there. Look at him.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I'm more shocked by the fact that I opened up the images page on Google and like the fourth result is an ASMR Dorito nacho cheese video, which is confusing that's where the internet's gotten to, but that's fine.
Gotta love the
we
internet.
talk about like the eating the baby off the cliff and stuff after it's born.
This is the bad side of a sentence.
didn't wanna come back to
What
this.
about like, okay, this is, so you've got, you know, let's say 600-year-old dude who is the most powerful, like, you know, like, let's say Scipio's level of power and evilness. They get put back into a baby. How quickly is that baby going to get to the power level of Scipio again? Do they have to be another 600 years, or is it going to be as soon as they hit adolescence and can, you know, move?
Think conscious thoughts.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's similar to, like, if you were injured and you atrophied your leg from like breaking it, like you would still have to go through like a form of physical therapy and like, you know, get back to your strength. It's similar to that. But one of the characters, whenever they die, they have found a way to change in such a way as to expedite their own growth. It's incredibly painful, right? Because like you're growing your bones and your tissue, and it sucks.
Oh, yeah.
But you can get back fairly quickly if you're willing to endure the pain. So,
Right, yeah. Okay.
but the other thing is when it comes to a baby, this was actually inspired by my own children, is that like they have no attention spans, their mobility is insane because like they're growing, right? So like you might be this ultimate powerful entity that also just like shits his pants all the time and you can't help it. So like
Yeah.
That's my. I want that. I want that.
Why am I just picturing Baby Yoda from Mandalorian, where it's like the Force user, but it's also a baby?
He's
Yep.
50 years old.
He's a baby though.
yeah,
Never seen it.
50.
time is relative.
Yeah, no, it's
You've
kind of, I think you'd appreciate this. It's a little bit of a tangent, but it's very similar to your sort of rebirth thing, and I think you'd find it, you'd appreciate it. It's actually from it's a D&D connection, from a show called Critical Role. Not sure if you would have heard of it. It's like a fairly big D&D live stream, and in the second campaign of the world, there's like this group called the Kryn Dynasty, who are mostly dark elves and like goblins and stuff, and they have this thing called a beacon, and it's like this crystal orb which has like souls of their people that are dead inside of it, and there's this process they go through where they bind themselves to the crystal ball, and it's like their coming of age ceremony for their people. And as soon as I forget the name of it, but as soon as you like attuned your soul through the crystal, you basically can't die, because when you die, your soul becomes one of the souls inside the crystal ball, and the souls inside there are basically a cue for going back into life. And as soon as your soul is inside the crystal ball, there's like I think it's like 100-mile radius around one of these beacons. Whenever someone gets born, instead of the child being born as the child, it gets the soul of one of the people from the kingdom that's already died put into it. And that's the way
I'm just
they
imagining a big
rebirth.
waiting room with like a number.
And
Number-
It's a bit more
Number
dark than that, but,
85,600,000.
I'm thinking of
200.
the Undead Afterlife from Beetlejuice. Yeah.
and it's kind of like this thing of, at first, the baby is just the fresh baby, but then sometimes around kind of puberty sort of time, the personality that they had from their past life and all their memories kind of starts to bleed back in. So for the first, like, let's say 17 to 18 years of their life, they are a new person, making new friends, new connections, new experiences, and then all of a sudden they start to have like these bad dreams and weird visions around like the age of 18 to 20 or so, depending what race they are. And then that's like their memories from their past life bleeding through, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh god, that's right, my name's Carl, I have a wife back over in that city, I've got to go find her, I've got to go find my family, bye guys. It is really interesting.
That's fucked.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Well, so it just
Yeah.
seems like it's like one soul invading another one, right? So like you have a
Yeah,
new life,
yeah.
so what happens to the first one? It just gets decimated.
That's the thing. That's kind of, because obviously it's D&D campaigns, they're still like experiencing the story of the characters. That's kind of one of the big things that the whole like political faction is shunned on by the other factions of the like continent, that the other kingdoms see it as pretty fucking dark and
Yeah.
not right, but to them it's like, oh, that's just the way life is. When you have a child with someone, you're not having a child, you're providing a vessel for someone to come back to life that's died. That's like their way of seeing it, which it's kind of interesting, but also kind of like, and then you get these weird things where like it's almost comparable to like doctors like Time Lords regenerating, I guess, in the sense of you've got these couples where sometimes after the consecrated, that's the word, when they get like bind their soul and they get reborn, after you've got these like married couples that have become consecrated, they, you know, sometimes their marriage will endure through multiple different bodies, where they'll be like a completely new person but still have the same connection and still be the same marriage and stuff. And you get this really weird thing where like I think one of the examples, one of the characters they meet, he's basically had to like raise his own dad, and like, for the first 18 years of his dad's new life, he's had to be like, you don't know me, but one day you'll remember I'm your son. And then it's like, that's weird, I'm a child. And then all of a sudden he'll get to the age of like 19 or 20, and then all the memories start flashing back, and it's like,
I'm so disappointed that like the oh wait, so they're all goblins and dark elves, yeah?
There's a lot of different races. But that's
I
kind of
was
some of the
really
prominent
hoping
ones.
that it was like the humans on the surface are being taken over by like dark. This is just me, my brain autofilling. And I was also hoping that it wasn't like an adult thing, because the conversation that played itself out in my mind was, honey, yes, darling. Is it just me, or is our son acting a little goblin-y?
Yeah, it's the
I don't know
goblin
what you're
memories coming. Well, yeah, that's the thing, because then they start to get into the thing of like, well, what happens if one of these beacons found its way outside of the kingdom and just near a random village of completely different people? Something like that. And it's like all these random...
In talking about like souls and stuff, that's very similar to something that happens in, what's it called? The Magisterium. Another, it's half done by Cassandra Clare. I think it's half done by Holly Black. I believe that's the author. Magisterium series, like a 4 or 5 book series, but it's a kid's book. It's for like young teen. But it's about, and then there's a thing about the kind of spoilers for the first couple of books, but the kid's soul is actually the soul of a guy who basically started the equivalent of World War II, Wizard World War II, Wizard World War One. Yeah. Wow. So his soul is that soul, and so he has there's a special magic power that comes around every like once a generation, which means they can use chaos magic, which no one else can use.
Yeah.
And basically, he has chaos magic, and he has the soul. And there's a whole thing about him thinking about like, am I evil? Like he has like an evil overlord list in his head of the evil stuff he does and the good stuff he does, keeping track of it because he doesn't know. And like the people who are on the good side, the bad side, know he has a soul, but they're like, no one else knows, and they're like, come, be evil. It's your soul. You were meant to be evil. And he's like, I don't want to be evil. But like, and the good side, when they realize he has that soul, they're like, you're evil, and then he becomes evil because of that.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly, but then he realizes, then later in the series, like really later in the series, he gets like the memories back of him, like, and he realizes that he not only was he that, but he's been like every chaos magician for like the past like century. No, sorry, not century. Century. I mean, millennia. It's 1,000 years, right?
Yeah.
The last millennia. So he actually remembers being every like bad person in like history.
Oh no.
And like has all these memories of it, and there's like a whole thing where he goes into a coma because he has to try and deal with it. And this,
Oh no! I'm the villain.
Douche. And like the only way, because his friend's soul that he somehow sucked into his body when he died, has to save him. It's a weird series.
Yeah, it sounds it.
Yeah.
but it's good.
That's it.
This is a kid's novel, by the way. It's like kids, like young teen.
Self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing, where it's like they try real hard to stop the prophecy, but then because of the actions they did trying to stop it, that's what causes it. Like, BBC's Merlin does that a lot. Yeah.
I think that if I had
it's like
I think if I had evil consciousness in my head, I would blame it for all the stuff that I mess up. That would be great.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, that's the thing. He never talks to it because he feels like his soul is evil. So he just thinks like he knows he's talking to himself, but he thinks he's himself, but he doesn't know. So everyone like acts weird around him and stuff like that. Whenever he does something like evil, like bad, everyone is kind of like, oh, like his friends know. He's kind of like, oh, and he's kind of like he's really self conscious about it.
what would be interesting is a
think
friend that's like, look, man, I don't believe that there's actually an evil thing in your head. I just think you're a dick, right? Like,
Yeah.
stop making this. There's no evil general. He's not there. You're just a jerk sometimes.
Stop being a dick. No excuses.
He's like, no, I'm serious.
Just because you haven't even.
There's an evil like wizard in my brain. Sure. Did he forget to take the trash out? Is that what that is? Yeah. Okay.
That's what I tell my flatmate
That's right.
when I don't do my jobs around the flat.
There's the wizard. You got a hold of my brain.
It's the evil wizard in my brain. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
it's him. It, him, him.
They,
Yeah.
him.
It.
A spirit.
Damn, hey, we don't want to assume gender.
That is true. That is true.
We don't. So I don't mean to. Do you have more questions, Jude? Jude, I mean Guy, about villains.
I was free scatting that, and you guys went off in a direction. I'm all good.
Awesome, Sam. What is your favorite villain? I don't know if you said it. I can't remember if you said it, but like, what's your like number one villain if you had to state one?
Oh man, that is tough.
And why? Because you always got to add the and why.
Right.
On good questions.
If you say Voldemort, I'll kill you.
Voldemort's trash.
Hey.
Voldemort is incorrect.
Voldemort
the only
can't take
answer
over
to
a
the
boarding
characters,
school. Like, that's not even a villain. That's just like a trash janitor. What
You
are
are
you talking
fighting
about?
an 18-year-old, you idiot.
That's right.
I mean, he is fighting literally probably the most secure building in the entire world. But still.
It's a school. Shut up.
If he can take out Hogwarts, he can take out the world.
He like straight
It's the only place where
murked the Ministry of Magic. Like, it was no big deal. But for some reason,
Exactly,
he can't
'cause
take over like a daycare for wizards. Like, what are you talking about?
The Ministry is shit, but the Hogwarts is like the strongest safe hold ever. You think Dumbledore's been prepping for this for years?
Right. No, don't like more. I will have to say Morgoth in Lord of the Rings is probably one of my favorites.
Jude, thumbs up
Jude,
approval.
you've got Jude's approval. You got
Yeah.
Jude's approval.
Right.
Why?
We're gonna-
I have
we're gonna-
Morgoth's like the big evil, right?
We're going to be talking about Morgoth in my next episode.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, Morgoth's like the big evil. He's like the devil in.
Sort of.
He's Sauron's big boss.
So he like
He's the guy who sings the wrong song, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
No,
So he-
not sort of. He's the one that was put into the world and
Sam's
decided
villain.
that he didn't want to play by the rules that the others were playing by.
you know it's just
Tom Bombadil's the one that became his own self-replicating song.
I love
I
Tom
love
Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil will always have a soft spot in my heart because he's Tolkien. He's Tolkien, right? And it's just so cool that you could like write yourself in as this like all supreme entity, have a really beautiful wife, and like do nothing but like hang out, smoke pipe weed, and chill out in the forest, right? Like they're like, you could change all this. He's like, yeah, I could totally change everything. I could just do that, but I'm not going to. Y'all gotta go.
Why would I?
Go do that, little hobbit.
No, I do. It is quite fun. I remember learning about them on the podcast. It was such a good episode.
Man, I love it. Tom Bombadil's awesome. But the cool thing about Morgoth is that like he does try to create, right? Like there is a form of creation. It's just corrupted because it's the same thing with imagination or creation of like any technology, right? Where it's like if you, as long as your intention is good, you can create something that will do wonderful things. But if it's like with wrong intention, you can create something that can destroy the entire planet, like atomic energy, right? It's not a bomb, it's a song, but you know what? It's kind of the same thing. I just love that.
I think it's really interesting, especially with like, and I'll stand by it. The magic system in our world is technology. Technology is the magic system in our world. Like it's like you can compare them pretty easily. Like people it's technology that people misuse.
Is
to do evil
creativity
things.
not the magic system? We are the group
No.
that are separated from everyone else
No.
because we are able to innovate.
No, technology.
just no.
But is that
No.
not the evolution of innovation?
I mean, I guess, but in magic worlds they have creativity as well. Whereas a lot of magic worlds don't. And obviously magic worlds have technology, but they do it in different ways. I feel. But
Well,
like magic, it's magic can be it's just it's like anything else. It's just a tool in most worlds, at least. It's just a tool can be used good and evil. And it's like Star Wars is a little. It's like in some ways Star Wars shoots itself on the foot by saying this is dark side and light side. I think it's a the Force is the Force, and a lot of there's a new stuff like with the Grey Jedi, and that's not new, but like a lot of stuff is saying the Force is the Force. It is the Force. It's your intent. It's people being bad or good that creates the dark side, light side. They don't exist really. They're your concept in your own head.
Oh yeah.
That's society is created.
It's a power, right? It's all about what you do with it that matters, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
there is how many Seeing Stones are in the Lord of the Rings? How many Palantir are there? It's like 3
that we know of.
Yeah.
There's at least 4, but
Right.
there's loads more scattered at the bottom of the ocean because Numenor had a load.
Right, and so we are literally using Palantir right now, but we just call it Zoom, and we're like bored by it, which is wild. Like y'all are on different parts of the planet, and we're like, yeah, but what about Grey Jedi? You know, I know. Yeah. You know,
Using our valuable resource as well.
it's crazy to think about. You know? It is.
Exactly. Like weird thing about doing magic. Oh, I can't float that thing across, but we can do so much. Like we can fly across the sky at 500 kilometers an hour in a metal container. Like magic, like you can do that. What? Magician's like what? Like some things. Obviously, magic systems will be beyond humans in some ways, but I think technology is beyond them in a lot of ways. Like how computers are so smart and can do so much shit that we're like, what? How can you even do that?
I just want to
My
be able to
phone
manifest.
is my magic power.
What?
Editing.
My phone is my magic power.
Nah, your magic power is editing, dude.
Oh yeah.
That's real. That's real life. I think that the only problem with technology is that it's not inherent within us. That's why we don't want to call it magic, right? We want to, like, I want to be able to fly through the sky and not in a metal container. I don't want to have to go through customs. I want to just straight up like launch myself into the air. You know, and that's why I still think it would be magical. But who knows? Maybe I'll get like cosmetic surgery in a couple years where I could turn my feet into rocket boots, and then it's all over. That would be amazing.
It's all over. All over for who, Sam? Who are you threatening?
Don't worry about it. You can't catch me anyway.
He's got rocket boots. How are you gonna stop him?
no.
He's coming to say hi to Australia.
Rocket.
Yeah. Good luck.
It's all over, guys. It's all over when Sam gets rocket boots.
That's it. That's the next
Did
tagline.
you see this? Did you see the news? I can't remember. Like, it was a couple months ago. There was a guy who's like had a jetpack near an airport. I can't remember which airport. One of the airports in America. At like 60,000 feet or like 6,000 feet.
Wow.
In like with just a jetpack.
There's been multiple sightings. I forget which airport. I think it might be a Virginian airport somewhere. There's been twice now where they've seen him, and it's gotten to the point where they say it, and the flight controller's like, "Oh, him
yeah,
again. Okay." It let us know if there's anything bad.
So
15th of October 2020. Person in jetpack spotted flying again near LA airport.
again,
Someone has a fucking jetpack, and they use
It's also not 60,000. It's 3,000 feet.
same thing.
so the worst part about America is that like we have so much crazy news that like Jetpack Man doesn't even hit my radar, which sucks. Like I want to know about Jetpack Guy. I don't want to know about the crazy guy in Florida who tried to pay for a taco with an alligator. That was real, by the way. That's a real story. He threw an alligator through a fast food place. Like,
I
that's,
think trying to pay for with the alligator might be a misinterpretation of the action they're taking.
that's what he said. He's like, look, I'll exchange the tacos, hard
Oh my
tacos, not
God.
soft. Boom. You know,
I think that's a pretty good deal, to be honest.
Is it?
Is it a tame alligator?
I take an alligator
Ah,
over
a
Bitcoin.
tame alligator now.
I take an alligator over Bitcoin.
Dogecoin.
A Bitcoin.
More,
One Bitcoin's
More.
worth like some $1 million. One bit.
no, it's like 60,000 or some shit now.
You wouldn't take $60,000 over an alligator.
Oh,
One Bitcoin
Depends-
equals 60,127 Australian dollars.
Australian dollars. That's the key
So
thing
for,
there.
yeah. Well, okay. To USD.
Yeah. So to translate for Sam.
46,542 American dollars.
all right.
And then
Now,
New
is-
Zealand.
If it's
Or an alligator.
a trained alligator, like your pet,
A trained alligator, like a pet, like imagine an alligator, but it's your dog.
By trained alligator.
But like the problem with lizards is lizards don't have enough of a farmed brain to be able to be proper pets. They can't do tricks. They can't like do that kind of stuff because lizards don't have the big enough brains. So like that's why they don't have like alligator walks and alligator shows, because alligators are alligators. They don't have a big enough brain to be able to do that.
But that tells you that ignorance is in fact bliss, because alligators have been around for millions of years and they're just happy being alligators, right?
They don't need to evolve. They're perfect.
Yeah, they're good to go, man. Just be dumb little carnivores. That's we're missing the whole point.
Okay, now this is a big question. Do dogs go to heaven? Do animals go to Dara?
Sort of, right? And so like it also Simon asks about animals to his caretaker when he's younger. And there is a spark of consciousness within animals, so they kind of show up, but they're not fully present like humans are. But what would be interesting is like maybe if I can like think of like the smartest chimpanzee ever, like maybe that'll make it. But we'll see.
Yeah.
They're like a Russian experiment where they got a chimp to successfully like write and do a whole bunch of smart things.
Yeah, and there's animals are smarter in other ways. Like they can like have you seen the tests where they flash like 20 numbers up on a screen for like a second and they can remember exactly where all the numbers were, whereas humans can barely do like 3 or 4.
But I don't know if that's like enough to quantify a soul, right? I don't think like the ultimate entity is like how many numbers do you see?
I think that's exactly the soul I have. That's my ultimate soul.
It's like Anubis is at the gate, but instead of like the feather and the heart in ancient Egyptian, it's just like a bunch of numbers flashing at you to see whether or not you can make it.
It's a BuzzFeed quiz.
Oh dear God!
Anubis has a BuzzFeed quiz where you can go in.
Which Disney princess are you?
Your answer will matter. There is a correct one.
No, your answer may surprise you.
Oh. And if you get it wrong, you ain't never going back.
As a quiet update, you can buy a baby American alligator for $150 and you can buy a mullet crocodile, which is a 7 to 9 foot alligator, for $550. I would like to add that site advertises, we offer exotic reptiles for sale online at absolute rock bottom prices. I don't like that descriptor. And beyond that, I clicked onto one of the sales pages and it said, when you buy a crocodile from us, you automatically receive our 100% live arrival guarantee, inferring that there was ever a possibility they were going to give me a dead one.
100% live arrival.
This crocodile will be alive and kicking. Sorry.
They could be on the brink of death.
$550 is the rarest crocodile on reptiles, Outback Reptiles or whatever.com. So, incorrect. $60,000 is not the correct price for an alligator.
But for 1 Bitcoin, how many alligators can I get? I can get an alligator army now, right?
I think there's probably a place in Florida that accepts. There's probably more places in Florida that accepts alligators as payment than Bitcoin.
Probably. Florida is
I'd be willing to bet.
is a magical place of methamphetamine and shattered dreams. It's a weird.
You can buy 310.3 American alligators for 1 Bitcoin.
I want that point.
I'd take that any day.
I'll take that point.
I think you could, if you have 350 alligators, you could probably get more money.
That is
Like if you walk into any establishment with 350 alligators,
It's like one of those
who's
things,
going to stop?
if you get a loan, you need to buy a tank, because then if they come to collect on the loan, what are they going to do? You have a tank.
That's true. So I just want to see some Florida man going into a bank and be like, listen, you're going to give me all your money or I'm going to release my alligator army.
Oh my God.
I think this is probably the most off topic we've ever gotten in this podcast.
We are describing the perfect villain. Don't get it twisted.
That's a good point. I saw.
I think Alligator Man is the best one.
Sam, if you haven't made up your villain for the 3rd book or even the next series,
suggestion.
we've got to suggest. Living by the Law has a suggestion for you.
But see,
Alligator Man teams up with Baby Killer, and Baby Killer. And what was the other horrible idea?
Colonizer.
And the Colonizer.
Yeah.
so it'll be
that's a trifecta.
It'll be Jude in a tricorn hat and a British uniform. It'll be Guy with like a baby carrier catapult thing. and then it'll be like Killer Croc from the DC universe. Like what? All right,
Yeah, obviously, it's but just wearing my glasses, so you
Yeah,
know it's me.
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Just a small hint. Killer Croc with about 20,000 crocodiles.
That is actually legitimately terrifying. Like,
No, no, yeah, no. And all he needs to do, hey, they're like, where's the crocodiles? Oh, don't make me. He pulls out a bag. It's a bunch of crocodile eggs.
oh my god.
Oh no, we've looped back.
You get crocodiles. I'm back, baby. I'm in the.
Start
I'm
throwing
went back
them.
to the door of the magic, throwing them before they get there in midair, they like, transform into a crocodile.
That is.
Boom, slap.
What are those toys that you used to be able to get where you put them in water and they expand? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know what you're
the
talking
like,
about.
plastic
Those
egg
little dinosaur things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the-
I went away for a weekend once and I left it in water, but like only its body was in the water apparently. So its head was about the size of like a golf ball, and its body was like the size of trying to describe size. The size I don't know, the size of a small child.
Oh man.
And it was like bursting because I'd left it in the water all week. So it was like ripping, its skin was ripping and was falling apart. But its head was still very
I
small.
remember I vividly remember this. It was just like this massive animal with tiny little head.
That's so macabre. I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah.
My God.
That is that. So do we have any more? Do we want to go on?
I mean, before we end, I think there's one thing I want to talk about. Tell us about where people could get your book, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very
That's
important.
what
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to know.
If we're
So
Where do we get it?
go to samkanewriter.com, SAMKANE writer.com, and you can just click on the book there. You can also go to
I will have a link in the description. I will have links in the description.
Yeah.
So check it out.
and also there's like a email subscribe form. You can hit that. You can also message me on there. All my social media is on there. If you want to know about like weird baby throwers and alligator men and like other follow-up questions about the weird interview that just took place, hit me up.
Could it be called an interview, or was it just an hour and 50 minutes of just nothing?
Listen,
Drivel?
I've done a few interviews at this point, and this is by far one of the funnest ones. It's weird, but I had a good
That's
time.
all we guarantee.
That's what we aim for, I think.
We
The
can't
fun.
guarantee it will be a good, but it will be entertaining.
Oh man.
You may get to the end and question the journey. You may not understand the journey, but you'll know you had fun on the journey.
It's the crocodile baby throws we made along
That's
the way.
right.
Please do message Sam about the baby throwers at samkanewriter.com. SAMKANEWRITER.com.
And if you give me some weird messages, they're gonna end up on Instagram. So just be ready.
Awesome.
And what's the date?
And,
Yeah.
Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon,
Amazon?
BarnesandNoble.com. You can, like, if you're in Louisiana, which would be strange but cool if you were, you can go to an indie bookstore that I'm working with called Blue Cypress Books. They're awesome. Indie bookstores, small bookstores, support local business. That's something that's really big for me.
Yeah.
And the release date is April the 6th. So orders your pre-orders right now, and you can get some free swag like t-shirts, coffee mugs, and also if you're a book club and you have your book club order my book, then I will come to your book club and we can talk about the book afterwards.
Hell
Like via
Nice.
Zoom, which is pretty cool.
I was gonna say, no matter where you are, he will come.
We will
I
fly
told you,
Sam
I have
to
rocket
Australia.
boots. Like, I'm on it.
Yeah,
That's who's
yeah,
gonna want
it's not like a request like option. He will come.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Sam
coming.
knows.
Sam is on his way to your book club.
I have your address.
You ordered the books. That was your first mistake.
That's right.
What do you think of page 394?
Just
We
throw
need
it.
like a new setting on Google Maps, like how you've got walking, driving, rocket boots.
That's right. We have to. I'm going to show up at this book club, just so you know, random readers with a dozen eggs. No explanation.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Yo, I love that. I want a dozen
That's
eggs.
a threat. That's not random. That's a
I
threat.
don't think that's a threat. I think it's very much like in the very nice cushiony place between a threat and a gift. It's in the middle. It could be a threat, could be a gift. You'll have to find out.
So I like this book. It was pretty good, but this dude showed up with a bunch of eggs. Real weird.
He didn't even do anything with them. He just held them in his
He
hands.
suggested they might be crocodile legs as well. I'm not sure.
There was like a hint of threat, but I don't know what it was supposed to be.
You don't want to find out. God.
You left one on my doorstep. I'm too afraid to touch it.
I would be weirdly creeped out if I went outside and there's just like an egg on my. I'd be like, why is that?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Awesome. Anything else you want to? Any other places we promote your book, Sam? Before we promote our.
Just check me out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Pre-order my book, y'all. It's it's my debut novel, so any love is good love.
Hell yeah.
The Pilgrim Soul.
That's right.
Chuck that in the brain. Pilgrim Soul. Get that in your brain.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget
Bury
it.
it
The
down.
Pilgrim Soul.
Bury
Look it
it
up
down.
now. Hey, I know you're driving. I can tell you're driving.
Oh no.
Write it down. I have experience. You can do it. You can get it done.
Yeah.
And if you are driving, pull over. You pulled over? Yeah, just there. You can fit there. That's
fit-
that's
no.
it. You fit there.
I mean,
Yeah, you're fine. You're
No,
fine.
there's
But now, you need to fight 2 seconds.
just
Pull
put
out
your
your
hazard
phone.
lights on. Just stop for a second.
Type your hazard lights.
Yeah,
Put
yeah.
type it in quickly. Type. The Pilgrim Soul. The Pilgrim Soul. The Pilgrim Soul. You got it?
Yeah.
Cool. Now chuck that phone away. Get back to driving. There's someone behind you, and he is beeping at you.
As
probably.
a concerned citizen, do not take driving advice from Matt. He literally just had an accident.
This is. I mean, you don't know the driving standards of New Zealand, to be fair.
That is true.
It is crazy. There's some crazy roads here, man. It's not safe roads. There's a lot. Nah, but most roads are okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
trying to. Who else
It's just-
can we trash talk?
It's just the terrain. It's just the terrain. The terrain is very crazy.
I live in a
everywhere's
swamp.
mountains.
Like I'm basically Shrek down here. Like, it's cool. I get it. Our roads are weird, as well.
You guys drive on the wrong side of the road anyway over there, don't you?
Yeah, God.
On the wrong side? You mean the freedom
Yeah,
side?
yeah.
So there's the left and the freedom
That's
side.
right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, there's that weird
Awesome.
time in our
Um,
history where like we didn't want to call things French, so for some reason, like for a brief moment in American history, they were no longer French fries; they were called freedom fries, and that's when I knew we were going downhill. I was like, this is
I
ridiculous.
have heard this. I love it.
That's
it's great.
amazing.
And
We're
freedom
just gonna end up
toast.
with so many
You,
things.
you should have
Yes.
kept that and just put it behind every thing that's ever been done in America. I go to a freedom high school. What are you?
Oh no, I go to a private Freedom High School.
That's right. I'm sorry.
It's a closed off. It's closed off to non-freedom students.
Do you measure this in meters or freedom?
Ah, yes, 9 freedoms and small freedoms.
I'm a fan of the freedom system myself.
Your McFreedom meal is ready. That'll be 3 freedoms.
How would you? Would you like how would you like to pay with that? Freedom or freedom?
Our language just got real simple. Real fast.
Yeah. Okay, if you enjoyed this weird interview, but I had a
Criminally
great time.
odd.
Yeah.
Great interview. You can check us out at Living by the Law. We release episodes every 2 weeks. That's called fortnightly. Or
Unless
bi-weekly.
one of them,
if
unless
you're
one of
in
us crashes our car.
Shut up. That's my bad. No, yeah, last week's episode was a little late. My bad. But great experience. Yeah, you can check us out at Living by Law on Facebook and at Twitter. And if you want to get in contact with us, check us a message on Facebook or send us an email. More likely to respond to a message on Facebook. That's how we got into contact with Kane here. I got a message to Sam Kane. God.
Do you ever feel
I
blessed
cannot-
with that last name? Because it's really cool.
It's a cool last name.
I feel blessed all the time, yo. Stay blessed.
Nice.
Write an iTunes review as well.
Yes, thank you, Guy. Go. Off with
5
your tangent.
stars. Whatever stars. Whatever you think we deserve. We don't deserve many stars after this.
We deserve at least
Sam
3.
deserves 5. We
I'd
deserve
say
1.
For Sam. Do it for Sam. 5 stars on
Yes.
iTunes. Yeah.
Tell us what
yeah.
eggs you would bring into battle.
Tell us what eggs you would bring. What are the most important eggs to bring to battle? Thank you. And if you don't bring an emu egg, you're
If
wrong.
you think about it, turtles are just
true.
big shrapnel.
All right. That was weird.
But no, check us out on iTunes if you enjoyed us at all. It really does help out. And hey, if that's too much for you, literally just tell your next door neighbor, tell your friends, tell everyone on the street. Yell out "Living by the Law" when you leave the house next time. Spread the word.
And then also say Pilgrim Soul.
And Pilgrim Soul. Spread the word. Living by the Law and Pilgrim Soul.
SamKaneWriter.com.
Podcast.
Just yell it.
What more do you need? You need a good book. You need a good podcast. What more do you need?
Exactly. Maybe some wine.
Oh, I could do with some wine, actually. We need sponsors.
We literally, hey, side tangent. One of our friends is a viniculture person. Last night we're playing D&D on Zoom. His wine experiment just exploded in the background, and he had to disappear for like 10 minutes. It was the funniest thing on the planet.
That was amazing.
Just sitting there here, just like a. It's like,
Anyway,
sorry.
Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day,
Evening.
and goodbye.
Or afternoon. And, goodbye.
Yes.
Sam, we never get
Bye.
these outros right. Can you give us some tips?
We're terrible at outros.
What
Give
on
us your
earth
best.
are you supposed to say? What you want me to
It
say?
doesn't
right now?
matter.
Right.
That's exactly
This
what
is
happened.
it. The music tracks out as we're just talking
What?
nonsense.
This is the music. I'm just relaxing to the music.
If you
as we go.
enjoyed this podcast, please sure to subscribe to future podcasts. See, it just makes me sound like a weird, smarmy, like porn stash guy. Like it's
Also, your voice is just silky smooth.
Ooh, so smooth. Why getting to write? Who's doing the audiobook? Are you?
no.
You should.
God, I hope not. I got the weirdest accent. Plus, I got braces, so it just sounds like a weird lisp going on every once in a while. No.
Just give it to Guy. Guy will do it.
No, absolutely not.
And this audiobook is brought to you by Guy the Baby Eater.
No!
Guy the Baby Eater.
I really hope that
My
sticks.
God.
Like, you know how like there's like underlying inside jokes in podcasts? Like, I really hope that like eggs and Baby Eater just like sticks for you this whole time y'all have a podcast. I don't know why.
Oh God. Okay.
Thank you for listening to Living by the Law. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes and tell your friends. The link is in the description, and thank you in advance. Also, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Living by the Law to keep updated on all the latest about our podcast. We have been, and always will be, living by the law. Thank you for your company, and good night.